Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy episode 20, the live edition. Now you may be wondering, Jared, as handsome as you are, aren't you messing the other half of the show? Sure I am. Ladies and gentlemen, Brit.
He's back.
We're here!
Yes. Hello, hello.
Episode 20. First off, we're at 20 episodes, Brit. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that is amazing.
Well, and to be honest, here's the thing about this show. I didn't expect it to take off this fast. I was like, okay, it's going to do well because it's Super Wonder. No, this like exploded. So before we get started, thank you so much. And what's Brown Destroyer says, I just saw Rebel Moon finally. F the critics, liked it. 7.4 for me. Not bad. That's a good rating. And what's up, Tevia? Yeah, so today we are talking about Kingdom Come, which, Britt, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is really seen as like the modern origin, if you will, of like the Super Wonder fandom.
Well, yes, it really goes back to the Silver Age, and I would say it's a counter argument against Action 600 by John Barnes. So yeah, so it is pretty much the establishment of the relationship.
And actually, Tevia, it's not at the time this was published, it was the future of the DC universe. Mark Waid has been very clear on that.
Yes, the Kingdom Come is or was post-crisis, ending. It most of the time, if they were to end, post-crisis, it would be Kingdom Come.
Which honestly, that would have been a pretty good. So it was as response to. Partially, it was a response to the Image Comics boom because you have all these heroes like Spawn and like Youngblood and such that are like not what DC thought superheroes should be. They're a little bit more like they just fight just for fun. So what Alex Ross and Mark Waid, I said in that order for a reason, wanted to do is show this is what the world looks like with superheroes now. Let's go back to the classics, and that's why you have like the more radical superheroes all of a sudden like being overtaken by the good guys. And then Brown Destroyer says even 80s comics, Superman was kissing Wonder Woman in front of Lois Lane. That was a great cover, and we talked about that on our cover episode.
Right.
It's similar to The Boys. Yeah, it is pretty similar to The Boys, except Superman is not a sociopath.
Right. With Kingdom Come, it's flawed, it does feel like the old guard type thing, but at the same time, yes, it really went overboard with the dark anti-heroes in the 90s. And it's like you have to go back to a more traditional take and a more inspired take. That's what this story was. It was more like, yeah, we're in the dark ages of anti-heroes, of stuff, hitting the fan, whatever, and we have to go back. We have to have order at some point. And that is what Superman and Wonder Woman represent. And they are the mother and father of comics, or the superheroes. And that's pretty much their role in Kingdom Come.
What's up, Daniel? How you doing, dude? Yeah, despite what people will tell you, Lois is not the first lady of comics. Wonder Woman is. Just want to put that out there. So the way Britt and I are going to structure this episode, and by the way, continuing on the running joke, let's see if we can break 3 hours. But anyway, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to, Britt and I have an article. It's basically going to talk about like the origins of Kingdom Come, and then we're going to go through the entire story to basically talk about, first off, why this is not only a good Super Wonder story, why it's such a great DC story, because this, and again, we have like Ian says, it's one of my favorite comic books ever. Yes. Randy is with us. I became a Super Wonder fan because of Kingdom Come. Yeah, because this showed me, Britt, when I first read this, that Super Wonder was not a new 52 exclusive thing, because I knew this happened before, obviously, but this is the one that showed me it wasn't just like a new idea.
Right. And that's the thing. It's not a new idea because it's been there since 1942. When I say 1942, is was because based on an article, you know, of their relationship. It's like if they had the shared universe, obviously these two would somehow get together. And then in 1944, you had Marston, which had a man dressed up as Superman, and he was dancing with Diana, and he called it appropriate. So, no, it's not a new idea. It's just the fact of what was new and refreshing is being able to explore it. And no, they didn't explore it in depth, but the fact that you actually, you know, gave the idea a chance, however
That's a
long
real.
it, lasted.
We have a fan. We love you too, dude. So
Oh,
let's get started. And by the way, Tevia asked real quick while I get set up. Question: how do you feel about Kingdom Come making a comeback recently in World's Finest? We were just talking about this before we went live. So Britt, if you want to take over real quick.
well, the thing is, I mean, well, the story, way that it's a prequel, but he said that it's boundaries that he won't cross. He's intimidated by the idea of a sequel unless Alex is completely involved with it. Um, I mean, as long as it doesn't mess up the ending, because it is a story with a set ending, then it's fine. You can go back to it and flesh out some more, put more emphasis on certain things within it. Just don't mess up the ending, you know.
Exactly, because that ending is pretty important. So the article that we're talking about here is basically linking this to Alan Moore's plot about Twilight of the superheroes, because that's kind of like it's kind of been like linked to this story for like a while, and the claim that's being refuted is Mark Waid and Alex Ross were inspired to do Kingdom Come based off Alan Moore's unpublished Twilight of the Superheroes crossover, and the status is false. So we're gonna go into that in this episode. So recently there was a cool bit of news that DC was going to finally officially publish Alan Moore's legendary pitch for a crossover called Twilight of the Superheroes that would have happened back in 1987. I wrote about Twilight a dozen or so years ago in an old comic book, Legends Revealed, and I'm trying to like go through the basic gist of the story is as follows. Spoilers for an unpublished story. So we're just going to go through it. Spoiler alert if you don't want that. And it is around the year 2000, and superheroes more or less rule the earth. There are 8 houses which are made up of related superheroes. The 2 strongest ones are the House of Steel, Superman and his brood, including Superman's wife, Wonder Woman. Well, wow! House of Thunder, Captain Marvel, and his Marvel family. These 2 houses are about to join with the marriage of Superboy, the son of Superman and Wonder Woman, and Mary Marvel Jr., the daughter of Captain Marvel and Mary Marvel. Yes, I know it's a creepy pairing, but Moore does not shy away of the creepiness of it. That is a really creepy pairing, but at least they're not blood relatives. And isn't this Knights of Steel? Kind of. So the other 6 houses are the House of Titans, which are the Titans, House of Mystery, Magic, House of Secrets, the remaining supervillains who have not been captured or killed, and the House of Justice, which is probably like Batman or something like that. And due to a flux in time, all time travelers have been stuck at this point in time, so they all gather here. Okay. And then Tevia says, actually, they are blood related. Oh, I didn't know that. In that case, it is really, really.
Yeah, that's
creepy.
really creepy.
But, yeah, House of Lanterns abandoned because a while back Earth was turned. No, Earth has turned on aliens and driven them all out. Superman being the notable exception, of course. They currently have a base on the moon, waiting to get back to Earth, planning an invasion along with New Mars, Ran, and Danagar. Okay, so the whole story takes place in a flashback at the beginning of a framing sequence with John Constantine at a bar in late 1987 reading a letter. A woman asks him for a light, and he flashes back to earlier in 87 and begins the story. It appears that John Constantine from the future somehow helps Rip Hunter, one of the time travelers, escape to the present, where Hunter teams up with the present John Constantine to warn the superheroes about the future. So this is kind of like Kingdom Come in a way, and we'll get into that when we get into the actual story. So, Constantine and Rip Hunter go to various heroes and warn them. Presumably, this would take place in the various titles of the DC line of comics. So it's kind of like a line-wide event, kind of like Future State or like Dark Crisis or whatever, except actually, I'd imagine probably well done, because this was back when DC actually had talent attached to their name. Meanwhile, in the Twilight of the Superhero series proper, Constantine of that time is the reader's guide to the world of the future. Constantine is his normal self, just older, but actually in a happy relationship with a woman he's been seeing for some time now, which is a nice change of pace for Constantine. So Constantine makes his way through the grimy world of the remaining human characters, the ones who don't belong to the various houses. And by Brown Destroyer says, in this continuity, Billy Batson and Mary Marvel aren't a brother and sister, more like orphans. Okay. And it is kind of similar to Armageddon 2001, only less confusing, and probably not leaked who Monarch is. Constantine seems to be making various plans and contacts with people here and there. He's obviously planning something. He keeps having a mysterious meeting with people who don't learn the importance until later. In the end, there would be a series of twists and turns. So what happens in the long finale, and I imagine finale would be so big it would take up at least 2 issues, maybe 3. First of all, the remaining Earth houses attack the wedding of Superboy and Mary Marvel Jr. because they want to prevent that union. Massive bloodshed, but the House of Steel and Marvel managed to survive more or less intact, while mostly wiping out the other heroes. I don't know how I feel about Superman and Wonder Woman wiping out other heroes, but I don't know.
I think it's an all-out war, and well, they die. Spoiler: Clark and Diana they die. But honestly, this is mostly like Games of Thrones.
Kind of. It is it is very Game of Thrones-y.
Yeah. It is very dark, but I mean, Alan Moore is dark. And it's also, I think this was more so, this more so inspired Riddle of the Beast than Kingdom Come. I see the similarities, but not exactly. Riddle of the Beast is Clark and Diana are betrothed. Some, stuff happens where Diana feels betrayed or whatever, tricked into feeling betrayed, but at the end they reconcile or whatever. But yeah, that is what I really think of. With Kingdom Come, the only thing similar is the war, is the anti-heroes or heroes against heroes. But other than that, yeah. Also note that the fact that Alan Moore put Clark and Diana together in this story when he wrote, before he wrote for the man who has everything, and so many people want to use the panel that after they kiss, they say how they should do it often, kiss more often, but it's predictable, and so that's making it seem like it's a negative thing, but yet he writes this story of them being together, married with children.
True. Continuing on, when the dust settles, we get the big revelation that Martian Manhunter has been impersonating Captain Marvel Sr., of course, for the whole series as part of an alien invasion. The Green Lanterns, the Ranians, and the Thanagarians all invade at once. Big fight with the remaining characters, and in the end, the aliens simply have too much manpower. Okay, so there you go. And then, however, this is when Constantine's plan comes into play. Batman and a small group of human heroes attack using armor created by the Metal Man Gold, who disappeared earlier in the series, and fight the aliens to a standstill. But when it looks like a stalemate, Constantine reveals his final trump card. He has contacted the new god Metron, oh boy, and used his chair to travel to Cord, where Constantine has sold the boom tube technology to the Cordians. So while the aliens are on Earth, their homeworlds are being currently invaded by Cordians. Oh, that's cool. So, but Alan Moore's last Silver Age Superman story was the end of that, with Clark and Lois being married and to have kids. Do you want to respond to that? I think he means for the man who the whatever happened to Superman, basically.
Yeah, that is that story. Which, I mean, he also changes his name to I forgot. but I think his last name becomes White, so he isn't even Clark anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's still the fact that he gives up his powers, and that's the thing that I don't like, is that he has to, in the end, he has to, um, yeah, give up his powers in order to be with Lois, and like,
Well, not
no,
only that, at the end of whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, he just goes into this vault in the fortress and just dies.
that's right.
And I'm
I
like,
think it's
what is it with
gold.
Superman and just choosing to die all the time?
Because if he is, it's kind of like, if he can't be with Lois, he would rather die. Or if he has to be with her, he has to die or lose his powers or something like that. Which again, I don't like. I think it's
He
toxic.
didn't
I
die, he
don't.
faked his own death. Where is that in the book, Tevia? Where is that in the book?
I believe he did, and that's why he gets the name change. But again, he isn't. Um, I think his name is Jordan White or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it's Jordan Elliott. My bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah.
boy, he's pulling
So
a Hush. Oh no.
yeah, his name is Jordan Elliott in the end of the book, and he has a mustache, and
He has a
so
mustache and a large nose. Is that really his disguise? Jeez.
yeah, his disguise is basically that. Um, but yeah, I really don't care for the story because, like I said, I don't like endings where he has to give up his powers in order to be with Lois. I really don't. I don't like it when he dies. I don't like that because it feels like he's giving up. Like Superman is supposed to be everlasting. He's supposed to be, you know, his legacy as a Kryptonian is, and especially when he ages slower too,
Mm-hmm.
or supposed to be immortal. I'm not saying to just have your time spent as a hero. You can still have a personal life, but at the same time, don't give up on your own legacy though. Like,
Exactly. Daniel says one reason why Lois it doesn't work is because Lois is still human no matter what, and she's unable to keep up with Superman's pace. Also, she's never been willing to learn about Kryptonian ways. Yeah, exactly. And with Diana, she freaking learned the language.
exactly, she writes in Kryptonian
Mm-hmm.
and she speaks it. Um, that is another reason why Kingdom Come is the best ending, because you can see the Superman legacy with the Legion, but and he's an older man, 1,000 years or whatever. But yeah, Lois. The thing is, Clark has to change his pace for Lois. He has to slow down, and
Mm-hmm.
to make her seem like the better reporter, to make her seem like she's smarter than him. You know, he's the son of a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Of he comes from an alien race that is supposed to be advanced, and he is supposed to be smart, or highly intelligent, and more intelligent than Batman, really. And we saw that, um I think it was Throne of Atlantis, in the animated movie,
Mm-hmm.
when Bruce couldn't figure out something, but Clark did. And that showed
Mm-hmm.
his intelligence. And you rarely see that when those two are being teamed up, because Clark is supposed to be the brawn and Bruce is supposed to be the brains. And he just looked like a flying brick. So, and with Lois too, in order for her to be the greatest reporter ever, even though honestly, her being a reporter, she, I don't know, they really don't emphasize on the reporter bit, because it seems like getting the story is too easy, especially the fact that she's so linked to Clark. And he gives her stories. She just takes the story or whatever and has no regard. Just like with Heroes in Crisis, Tom King, she was able to have access to everyone's personal information because of Clark, and with
And
no regard.
yeah, she just publishes it, and I'm like, Are you kidding me? That was when I truly became a Lois hater, is that story. Thank you, Tom King, for contributing actually one good thing of value. Graviton says, not a fan of the whole Lois Lane defines Superman's life. Plus, it makes Clark seem like a shitty hero who's on the verge of becoming evil. True that.
Exactly.
That's my problem. Like, if Superman is this close to turning evil, if he's this close, by the way, Kingdom Come refutes the whole injustice thing because Lois dies in this, and Superman does not become a dictator. That wouldn't happen.
Right. And his whole purpose of quitting being a hero is because the world turned on him. That's
Man of
really
Steel.
the main reason.
It's very. I could see where like the Snyderverse took inspiration from this, because remember when Superman briefly like leaves humanity, and I know this part of the movie got really critiqued, but this is like inspired by Kingdom Come, because that's exactly what happens to Superman. The world turns on him, and he's like, "What do I do?"
Yeah, and that makes sense. That is a conflict that actually makes sense. Your conflict should not be because you can't be with someone romantically. I just no.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sorry. No, that doesn't work.
yeah, you can't be, even in reality, you know, uh, you can't be defined by a person. And you like Twitter, if you're not outside of Twitter, the whole comic book fandom or whatever, when you go into the reality of the world and you see conversations, you talk about what it takes to have a healthy relationship. And honestly, the Superman and Lois relationship is not healthy at all. They can, like, the recent issue of Superman, Lois was reading fan letters because Clark, of course, he on the brink of death because he got kryptonite poisoning or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and he's healing. First, the art is trying to show the emotion, but it does a little bit, but not really. Um, so she's reading the letters, and they have the flashback of post-crisis, them meeting, and their first meeting is her standing there looking like she's being mean towards him or something like that. Then they show the marriage, the post-crisis marriage, and then John. And then, that whole thing. And it's honestly, it's really such the bare minimum to try to show this relationship because she really just looks like a cliche. She is the love interest, and her only thing is to be written that way. It's not like she's helping him heal. She's just reading letters. And the only thing that's honestly, you can have anyone read the letters, and that is going to be his motivation to be the hero, but it's not Lois. Like, trying to put her in such an important role of other people, it doesn't work for me. That's why I love New 52, because he his motivation was the smaller or the mini Smallvilles of the world, you know. And
Yeah,
that,
and Tevia, I get. See, here's the thing. Because Tevia disagrees with that 100%, which okay, but
of
I
course.
I get it. But it seems to me, Tevia, and you can correct me on this, that the only reason why you like Clark and Lois together is because it leads to John as a 10-year-old boy. Which, by the way, he's not that anymore. So it's. And if anything, as we said on I think it was like 2 episodes ago when we talked about John. Yeah, 2 episodes ago, he didn't help the book.
Yeah,
That's just
I mean,
that's just me.
honestly, John is he was just a an anime character. He was a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's Damien's playmate, and his whole purpose, it wasn't for him to be a 10-year-old. It was for the 5G, what that storyline of Clark becoming authoritative, a fascist villain or whatever. So the Superman mantle had to be taken up by John. but obviously that storyline was DOA. So, and even Damien was going to become a villain too. So it was basically Dan bringing in Injustice World into the main line,
which was the biggest like letdown ever. And by the way, Tevia, see, here's the thing: as long as it has the DC logo in the top of the book, that's John Kent. That's just the way it is. That's just the way
yeah.
it is.
There's no way.
Real quick, I just want to adjust this real quick. When was the last time John was 10? 2019, I think, because that's when He Who Be Named came on the book. And also John Kent
17.
is just, 2017?
No, 18, my bad.
Okay,
17 is when
I thought it was around that time period, yeah.
Yeah, it was 18. Let's see. Well, let me see. Because I know,
yeah, go ahead.
I know that He Who Shall Not Be Named came on the book in
2018.
2017. It was 2018.
2018 is when they aged him up. So
Yeah.
John Kent is just Clark Kent light, but 100 times less. Yeah, that's what they tried. They basically. So I think DC knows that Superman has trouble connecting with younger audiences. So what they're doing is they're trying to give us a mini Superman. And by Randy says, Tavia, DC writers have admitted to intentionally throwing Diana under the bus just to prop up Lois. Exactly. This is what we've been saying for like since episode freaking 1. And this is why because if Lois could stand on her own, they wouldn't need to say, put her in the Hellbat armor. Have her fight and defeat the entire female Furies. Have her dox the entire superhuman community.
You wouldn't have Clark saying, well, I didn't marry Diana because she didn't have a Pulitzer.
And I'm like, that is the stupidest thing in the world. It was 2018, and he was trying and got in the book with Man Stewart. It's garbage, even though they had let me put it this way: they could have just gone with Connor. I get that, but the thing is that they wanted Superman to actually have a blood son. Because guess what? Batman had a blood son. It's the same reason why. It's the same motivation why they gave Wonder Woman an adoptive daughter. I'm assuming it's adopted by this point, because they were like, well, Batman has a child, Superman has a child. Let's give Wonder Woman a child. That was the reason for Trinity's existence.
Yeah, well, even her existence is not only is she adopted, but her existence also is because she was supposed to be, well, the idea was for the Super Sons to babysit a hero's kid. So at first it was going to be Barda and Mr. Miracle's son that, ironically, Tom King created. I think he named him Jack.
Yeah, and by the way, that story was freaking awesome. That Mr. Miracle and Tevia. Okay, why was that awesome? Because at one point, would Lois Lane know how to use the Hellbat suit, which, by the way, takes the energy out of your body? At what point would Batman have taught someone other than the why would Batman teach Lois Lane how to use the Bat armor? That is strongly Mary Sue / Ray Skywalker like territory.
Very jumping the shark, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, yeah, but Trinity trying to be basically Wonder Woman. Yeah, that's why I'm calling her the adopted. But I'm sorry, Britt, as you were saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that John and the whole thing is because of Damien. Damien, at first, he was supposed to die. He was pretty much a retcon with Morrison because, of course, Morrison totally degraded Talia, and made Damien this bratty kid that was supposed to die. But for some reason, he stayed. Dan DiDio, he loved the Silver Age idea of Super Sons, so he wanted that just for that storyline, for the 5G storyline. And then you have Trinity, which again, it was just a babysitting thing for Tom King, and he's basically self-inserting his own kids because I believe, yes, he has 3 kids and he has 2 older sons and 1 younger daughter. So that was basically who he is writing for and who he is writing when he's writing Trinity. John, he's been a teenager for 5 years So, and he was only a 10-year-old for what, 2?
Yeah,
So yeah,
pretty
he's
much.
been he's
And
been a teenager much longer than a 10-year-old.
his debut, his big series, which was Superman and Superman and Lois, by the way, it's Superman, Lois, and Clark. When Superman is a literal coward, I'm just gonna say that. But Daniel, just imagine Lois trying to protect her son with Superman from Brainiac, Darkseid, or Mongol. Diana could do that easily. Yes, exact. Thank you, man. And at least slow them until help arrives. Lois is an instant death because she's not superpowers. And we did technically see that in Dark Knight's Metal. Technically, Tevia, where did we see that in Metal? John being a teenager was a horrible idea. I got news for you, dude. And you're clear to like the character. I just want to be clear on this. Nothing
Correct.
Britt and I are saying means that you can't like the character, because we'll be the first ones to preach like what you like, and we actually believe that. Just here's
Exactly.
the thing. In our humble opinion, John Kent as a character, as a concept, the way it was executed from the get-go was a horrible idea, because it only existed to say no more Superman and Wonder Woman together. That is it. The tie-in for Devastator. Yeah, but then she turned into Doomsday because of that was different, because she was essentially infected with the Doomsday virus. So that actually made sense. This one, no. But anyway, so Britt, go on.
Yeah, Jurgens, that is exactly what he wanted. He wanted John to exist to close the door on any possibility, because pretty much out of feeling as Superman and Wonder Woman together is a threat. And New 52 basically showed that Lois does not have a role. She, like, if she isn't the love interest, she's in the background, you know. With John,
Graviton. The problem isn't the fact that Lois has her powers. She's just annoying. Yes, thank you.
she is.
You got your wish in Frank Miller, the master. Yes, and in this in Kingdom Come, as a matter of fact, because that was a key point in this story. Because remember, everyone's always like, well, Superman and Wonder Woman. If Superman's with Wonder Woman, he detaches from his humanity. Wonder Woman brings him back to humanity in this.
Right. I mean, you have all of this actual comics debunking so much said on Twitter X or whatever, and even bringing up Kingdom Come and Golden Child. Yes, those versions of John, first they came out way before Rebirth John, and they are much more interesting characters, not because just being Clark and Diana's sons, but they actually have something unique. They aren't the next Superman. John from Golden Child, he's a 3-year-old baby Buddha. His powers are
I love how you
unknown.
call him Baby Buddha. That's great.
Well, that is what Frank Miller called him, so I was like, yeah, he's gonna be a baby
awesome.
Buddha.
I like that. Oh, by the way, Tevia, and by what metric are you measuring failed? Because if you didn't like a story, that doesn't mean it failed. So I want to be clear on that. But anyway, so go on, Britt.
He has the nuclear vision or whatever. You know, he is an anime character in the right ways, in so much of interesting ways. And then you have him play off being like this mellow, you know, kid with his older sister Laura. And even Laura has so much more story because she's a teenage girl trying to figure out where she belongs. And that is where it also comes from Clark and Diana's struggle too. So you have so much story potential with those two as siblings and individuals. And then you have Kingdom Come John, and his hero name isn't Superman, it's Hyperman.
He has his
And
own identity.
Yes, and he is powerful enough to basically, he has like this telekinesis, psychic powers or whatever, and he's the guardian of hyper time. You know, he can time travel and stuff like that. To have those sort of powers instead of being a carbon copy of Clark, which is so predictable, um really, what has Rebirth John? I call him Rebirth John because that's his main introduction or whatever. But what has he actually done that Clark hasn't done? The only thing really that he, you know,
Well, actually, I can name one thing, Britt. Here's what John hasn't done that Superman has done: sell an actual book.
right. I mean, his first book, it didn't, even with the variant covers and
What's up,
the
JD?
initiatives and everything like that, he didn't sell. I think what did it make, like 70K, 75K?
And then
Um,
like severely dropped.
until they did the bisexual reveal, and even that, Tom Taylor, he um admitted that that was a gimmick. He said that um it wasn't supposed to be revealed that early. He wanted to um build it up to it, but it was DC who wanted to go ahead and get it out there. And it's like, wow, you know, these known gimmicks, you praise them or whatever, but something that wasn't a gimmick, which was actually supposed to be explored, yes, it was a little rushed because, you
Yeah,
know,
it didn't get. If what they could have done is done more like tie-ins in the like Superman and Wonder Woman books of the you could like tease it in each of their individual books. Like there's this woman I'm on the Justice League with. She's super wonderful. I love her. I think I like her and I want to pursue this. And like Diana's struggling with the same thing. And you can actually tie this into her being an Amazon and like have them both together. So you don't necessarily have to change the Justice League book. You can just
right,
put more in the Superman and Wonder Woman books. And by the way, Talia says nobody wanted that crap to happen because it was creepy on so many levels. So which one was that? Oh, what are you referring to? Oh yeah, the John Kent. Well, obviously someone wanted it because otherwise DC wouldn't do it. But can we just get? No, we can't because he's too important to the Superman thing now. But anyway, I'm not going off of that. But anyway, so back to Kingdom Come real quick. So this is Alex Ross talking about his pitch for Kingdom Come. All right. So he said the idea for Kingdom Come was gestating when I was working on Marvels. Okay, Marvels is basically so what Marvels was, I recently read it was so you have this photojournalist and he's like following the Marvel superheroes as they go through like the classic stories like the first coming of Galactus, the death of Gwen Stacy and such. So what happened, and it's drawn by Alex Ross. So it's the same painted, gorgeous as hell panels. So it's all that, and you can see this one photojournalist grow up idolizing the superheroes. Then by the time he sees them all fail repeatedly, he's like, "Yeah, I don't have a high opinion of superheroes anymore." It's actually
oh
really
wow,
really cool. It's Alex Ross. Anything that dude puts a pen to, it turns to gold. So anyway,
yeah,
I started work on the pitch, a long 40-page handwritten outline. That is dedication, if I could say so myself.
truly,
When I was working on the third issue of Marvels, I figured while I'm doing my grand opus of Marvel, I've got to do a grand opus about DC characters. Kingdom Come made me fall in love with superheroes and DC heroes in particular all the more. So once I was done with the series, he means the Marvels, I really only wanted to spend more time with the classic forms of these characters if that was possible. Turns out it was. Initially, I pitched the story to James Robinson because I figured he was a young wannabe Alan Moore, and I wanted this thing to be very much like a Watchmen-like product as possible. Mark Waid was the one who came most well recommended by DC editors in terms of his love and knowledge of the history of DC heroes, and that's when that marriage occurred. Ross mentioned he wanted an Alan Moore type of project is likely what led to them to think it's like Twilight of the Superheroes, but it's really not. And the thing about it is, here's the thing about the difference between, let's say, Kingdom Come and like Watchmen. Kingdom Come has a happy ending.
right,
There's not a lot of Alan Moore projects that end in happiness.
right. The thing is, when now that for some reason they want to change Kingdom Come as in the bad ending or whatever like that, it's because of what happens to the heroes. But at the
Mhm.
same time, it's okay if they just have everything, that's when they have the crisis events and you want to feel that devastation, that aftermath
The
of
stakes.
and yeah. But when you know that they're going to save the day, when you know that everyone is going to be alive and well and stuff, why should you care about the story? And what Kingdom Come did for DC, you put these characters in conflicts and you put them in these, especially challenging them emotionally and mentally. With Diana, she is supposed to be this, sunshine, ball of sunshine or whatever. She's this peacemaker and everything like that. But when you have her frustrated and she feels like giving up and she has no other options, then the warrior comes out.
Well,
And
not only that, and we'll talk about this when we get to that part of the story, but she loses something very important to her that really pushes her toward that mindset. And we'll talk about that again. I
right,
don't want to spoil it if somehow you haven't read this ever, but it's basically, it's not like she all of a sudden like develops this. There is a reason for it, and this is why I like Kingdom Come so much. It has multiple times of like setup and payoff,
yes,
and that's
exactly.
extremely and it does it with every single thing they do in the story, and that is extremely hard. Like there is very little, if any, plot holes in this book.
And that is what's missing with the stories of now, is
Mhm.
they don't want to go in depth with conflict because it feels like that's not my hero, that everything has to be okay. Like with Mark Wade, he says that Prime Superman, he can't fail. He
Yeah, you
can't,
can.
like, nothing can go wrong for him. And it's like, no, that
That
doesn't
just
make sense
leads to
because what
stale
did he learn?
storytelling. I'm sorry. It's like, why would I? It's like, again, at the beginning of the World saga, I always bring this moment up because it was a very vivid moment in my life and also inspired me to write that, to make that first Lois Lane is useless video that like exploded. It was like these Kryptonian, like these Kryptonian adjacent creatures. Tevry will probably know what I'm talking about. Is that they were like attacking the Fortress of Solitude. Lois is there with a gun, and they make it like she's in danger. But I'm like, why do I care? Because Superman's gonna save Lois Lane. So there is zero. There's -1 stakes. There's not even 0 stakes. There is -1 stakes. And by Daniel, I just want to highlight his comment. Just imagine Diana protecting Clark from Lex Luthor's kryptonite rays with her bracelets. Just imagine that in live action. Yes, exactly. There's a lot of this that I really want to say. But World Saga was great. I'm not even like bashing the story up until the whole they find his slave suit and they keep and turn it into a sex joke. But that's like that's not that's like this that's not attached to World Saga. Literally, the problem with today's storytelling is that's too safe, no risk taking. Exactly, Brit. That's exactly what you're saying right there.
Yep, exactly. And the reason why is because the fans are so sensitive. It's like
Well,
you can't
the
do
fans on
anything.
Twitter. Let's be clear
Yeah,
on that. The
the
fans on
fans on
Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah, Twitter X or whatever. You
Yeah.
can't do anything with these characters. You can't go outside their head canons or what has been basically bashed into the heads of every fan. Is with Superman, he has to be this Clark Kent is who I am. Superman is what I can do. I'm a normal human. Being alien is bad, yada yada.
Yeah.
Diana, she's oversimplified as this warrior woman. She is just a goddess, so she can't be human, even though she is an earth woman. Um, Batman, he's honestly he is anyway, but he's a man child, whatever. Little
I
mentally.
love hearing your disdain for Batman. I mean, it's not disdain, but it's like it's really. I just love the way you talk about
I
Batman.
mean, honestly, I love Batman. I love Batman, but I don't like Batgod. Like I hate
Yeah,
Batgod.
that has gotten old. Like, remember that panel from Chip Zdarsky's Batman where he survives a fall from orbit?
Yeah,
I'm like,
that
what?
is
That was when
ridiculous.
that broke me, Britt, because I was like, okay, I can imagine he has like contingency plans for the Justice League. That I believe. Falling out of orbit, surviving in space more than 10 seconds in a regular bat suit.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But anyway, real quick before we get to Kingdom Come story, there's one thing I wanted to bring up. Britt and I already talked about this quote, but I wanted to play this for all of you fine people watching at home, because this is a quote by my favorite movie director of all time, Zack Snyder. And he was talking, responding to like critiques about like how he handles superhero things. And people were like, well, he ruined Superman. He killed Superman and all that stuff. So what Zack Snyder says is, if you're afraid that I'm somehow going to subvert your hero to the point that he's destroyed, then your hero isn't that resilient, is he? If I can really destroy him that easily. And basically saying is that then the hero is not as strong as you think he is.
Yeah, I mean, you can even talk about what was it? Identity Crisis, when I think it was from that when Batman says that.
Oh, it's the Infinite Crisis.
Infinite Crisis. That Superman was his last being.
The last time you inspired anyone, Clark, is when you were dead.
Died. Yeah, I mean that.
He's not wrong.
Really,
up until that point, he wasn't wrong.
He's not, and honestly, that's the thing, and even with the DC documentary, or
which I love,
is the complaints of you killed Superman. It's kind of like, okay, no, the fans killed him because they needed to find something to make him relevant.
Or actually, no, I'm sorry, I'll go after you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that they needed to find something to make him relevant again, and they can only come up with him basically punching a giant mutant troll, to death, and him dying for people to start caring.
I love that interaction because Mike Carlin, I think he was the head editor of the Superman line at that point. He said, people were like, why did you kill Superman? And like, I didn't kill him, you did. Because when was the last time you bought Superman? And they said, well, 20 years ago. I'm like, yeah, I didn't kill him. If you're not going to water a plant, the plant's going to die. That was that was one of my favorite parts of the documentary, in addition to how they completely sidestep Rebirth and propped up the New 52. Because I swear, Britt, I was on the edge of my seat as soon as they were talking about the New 52. Because I expect him to say, and we needed to do this again, so we went to Rebirth and all that stuff. Nope, they skipped it. Completely skipped it. But anyway, Randy says, Superman needs to be top dog. He's on top of anyone else. When Batman is on DC, it's barely hanging on by a thread. Yes, true. So, Kingdom Come. We're going to actually go through the full story. Because not only is it a gorgeous book, fantastic storyline, and you can see like the little hints that like Ross puts in there of like Superman and Wonder Woman's like what they give to each other. So let's get started, shall we? All right, first off, I love this cover because DC has always seemed to me like more the gods amongst men, and this cover definitely like shows that to a T, I think.
Exactly. And I love the sunset, like the background is really and the kind of like giving a silhouette to that. Even with just seeing the cover, the heroes though, and they're older, given a little wiser. They're in between, not so much as a midlife crisis, but it's kind of giving that in a more positive way or whatever. But yeah, that cover is just it makes you want to know what's going on.
And you can also take that as the sunrise, like the times can be light again because the superheroes are returning.
Right. Oh, that is beautiful.
So, all right, hang on. DC is being a little annoying, but anyway, so let's get started. So first off, we have this fantastic I love how each of the different issues has like this big like spread page. Yeah, the gatefold. I love that. So as it loads. So basically, this story is being told from the perspective of Norman McKay, who I believe is actually based on Alex Ross's father.
Yes.
Which is so nice. By the way, I love this image because when I was looking back on it, I didn't notice it was the American Eagle fighting a bat. So it's like Batman versus Superman.
And Diana, too, because she has the eagle.
Oh, yeah. And the Diana spear as well.
Oh, so that might be Diana. I've never noticed that too. That is so Alex is just
So good.
So good.
It's so good. But anyway, so then we have again these epic panels, and I just love because what Alex does, he doesn't color these, he paints them. And I'm like, because he said that way you get like more detail and you're more like hyper realistic. And obviously it works because look at this. You could hang these, you could take any random page from this book and like hang it in a museum. So,
And
yeah, no, actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and honestly, that is why it's such an intimidation to adapt this into animation because I mean, you would have to have like the top animation to mm, like to really convey the emotion and just be on the same level of art that Alex has in this book. And yeah, I really do not want anyone to adapt this unless they have that.
Exactly. So moving on. So we have Norman McKay. He's meeting with Wesley Dodds, who, by the way, the original Sandman. And he's been having these dreams about Graviton after seeing the Red Sun adaptation. They should stay far away from Kingdom Come. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. But I have to have, you know, who I should have is Sam Liu on that because he was involved in that. And I need to ask him about that. But Batman isn't built to be top dog. Exactly. The artwork's amazing. Yes. So Dodds is having the vision of like the superheroes of a big superhero like Civil War, and like it's gonna lead to like the end of the world. So then we see like a picture of Gotham, and Gotham is actually is that Gotham? Actually, no. I think it's just a random city, probably Metropolis in the background. You can see like
It looks like
all the superheroes flying around. What?
It looks like it might be Metropolis.
Yeah, probably because I don't see like Wayne Tower or anything like that. So then it's like more. It's basically establishing how crappy the world is without Superman, and that's really the key thing here is that Superman is the key to this story, and we'll get into why later. So Dodds is walking the streets, and we see like the wreckage from a superhero fight, and what this is showing is the thing about Kingdom Come story where it takes place in the beginning is that the superheroes fought, and by Quentin Hale, yes, it was. The superheroes still fight, but they don't exactly have a regard for collateral damage. And that's where you have like this. It's just people that just fight. And that was honestly what was like one of the best lines from another DC documentary about this. So I'm going to go to Planet Krypton, which is basically a DC themed restaurant that's basically an Easter egg hunt because we can see right in the back here, we have the first issue of Batman right here on the wall. And then you like have all these different like DC like items like Green Arrow's punching his a boxing glove arrow. The old DC logo is right here. Someone's dressed like Black Canary, maybe Robin. The old Adam West bat suits here. Every time I look at this image, I get like I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that before. And that's I don't know about you, but that's one of the things I love about like Alex Ross. And it's the same thing with Zack Snyder. Whenever you re-examine their work, you find new things you never noticed. Hell, we just did it live on stream.
Right. It's so many Easter eggs that you really cannot like at first glance, it's so many, but then when you really dissect this, it's like you have everyone in different eras, you know, costumes. You have these older. I didn't know that. I guess that was Fire from Fire and Ice.
Oh yeah, that's who that is.
Yeah, I did not know that at first.
The name of the food is like I'll have an American way on rye.
Yeah, they have their slogans or whatever. That is so cool.
Give me a black condor straight up. Yeah, exactly. It's really, really funny. It's like, damn it, someone's run off with the handcuff arrow again. Oh my gosh, that's good. So then we see the battle. And as you can see, again, they have they're in no way regarding the public when they fight. And that's the issue with this. It's superheroes without consequences. And that's, in a way, you could say that this is like Silver Age as well, because that was like the superheroes did whatever they wanted pretty much. It was always good, but there was no consequences to anything those characters did. So in a way, this is also attacking the other side of the comic debate.
Yeah, that, you know, what we see them now is, of course, they can't save everyone, but they can at least try. And it's always shown that they try to evacuate or, get everyone to safety before, or even take the fight somewhere else to, somewhere remote. But with these heroes, they're just fighting no regard of anybody. They're not trying to help anyone. They're just fighting a villain or whatever, trying to get, I guess, the accolades or whatever to, and they just relish in the fight. They're not actually fighting to help the world at all.
Exactly. And then we continue on. It's more of the battles, more of this fantastic Alex Ross art, and also, yeah, you see, the relishing it. This one superhero is like laughing at the battle, and it's just everyone's dying here.
I love Nightstar.
She's so cool. That's this character right here. I believe, is she the daughter of Nightwing and Corey?
Nightwing and Star. Yeah.
Oh wow! By the way, at the back of this book, it actually has the genealogy and the family tree of all the superheroes. So I'll go over that at the end of this discussion. It might have it in this edition as well. So again, so basically what this world is showing, this is a world without hope. And it's going to take a certain S-shield wearing superhero to get that. So then we have Dodds. And we have Norman, and he's like preaching to his congregation about how everything looks like it's going to be doomsday. And he's even reading the book of Revelation, which is pretty much like the end of the world story. And then he's met by the Spectre, who is basically the embodiment of God's wrath. This universe is some of the best character designs. Oh, hell yeah. They cooked hard with this one.
Yes.
So, and McKay is like, actually, the Spectre's like, okay, you're going to help me because the apocalypse is coming and only you can stop it. And he's like, wait, me? Shouldn't you call someone else? And he goes, no, there's no one else to send. Then he takes him to this farm. And we see this farmer working on the barn. And he jumps down from the rafters, and they go, he looks familiar. By the way, this particular character with a ponytail actually looks kind of cool. So I'm just going to go. I was going to say that. Actually, it's kind of funny. He had a mullet at this point in the comics. That's probably what that's referencing.
Yeah, but I like the ponytail, and just honestly, if they would have adapted this live action, Cavill can really, he could have
long hair in The Witcher.
Knocked this out of the park. Yeah.
So then it's Superman. And the interesting part is that then Norman goes to the Spectre and he goes, wait a second. He's so alone. And then Wonder Woman shows up and then he goes, not always. It's basically implying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brit, was their relationship going on like even before the book started?
Well, that was the original idea, was for them to be in a relationship. But for the characters, especially for Diana, she wouldn't just sit there. So it had to be that they are in between. But he's still very much distant from everyone, but she never gives up on him. So,
which I love.
It's basically laying the foundation that they do have something, but it will, progress within the story, which I find so much better because you can actually see them, growing closer together along, even if they are having a bit of conflict within the story. It's still that they, come together at the end.
Exactly. And you see them kind of fall in love in the story. So then, okay, this is something I want to bring up because I have a buddy of mine who's a Superman fan. I'm just going to tell you that right there. He's one of the good ones. But we were debating Superman Wonder Woman versus Superman Lois, and then apparently a talking point was how many times it was like he has never seen Diana call Superman Clark. And I'm like, okay, because she starts calling him Clark. She only calls him Cal when he looks at her and says, and basically says, don't call me that. That's not who I am anymore. So I'm like, she calls him Clark, dude.
I mean, Diana, she calls him Cal because first of all, she met him as Superman and he introduced himself as Cal to her. So, and their relationship is basically pre-crisis. That's the established point for them, and within pre-crisis, that's who he introduced himself as true. And Clark was the disguise, more so that. So his truth was Cal, and obviously, being the goddess of truth, she's going to call him by his truthful name. But yeah, she does call him Clark. She really goes back and forth with it. It's really no that's not really an argument of point to make.
Yeah, she calls him both. I'm like, and he goes, well, she calls him Cal more. And I'm like, so?
Yeah, I mean,
So?
Lois, the thing is, Lois doesn't even call him Cal at all. She ignores that side of him, so at least Diana is a bit more balanced.
Exactly. Atchison says, I love an animated Kingdom Come movie, but I also don't want them to make one. After the Injustice debacle, I don't think we want that either, even though I enjoyed the Injustice movie. So what's kind of cool about this particular part is that Clark refers to like Lois and the parents as Earthlings. He says, Diana comments about how Superman has lost so much, and Clark goes, well, Earthlings die. It's what they do. And then that's basically showing how detached he's become from humanity because he completely like detached. Because right now, spoiler alert, he's in the Fortress of Solitude. He's not even at Smallville. And Wonder Woman came to him and said, hey, you need to come back because we need you, Clark. There's no one else that can rally the others to start taking this world back. And but I love how he has this whole like room of TVs that's like he sees like all the news broadcasts. It's very like Watchmen-esque / 1984. And then speaking of no consequence, Magog, the person that killed the Joker, he is leading a fight with some superheroes. They breach Captain Atom's suit and then he explodes. Which, by the way, here's the funny part about Captain Atom. Isn't it funny how whenever Captain Atom is in a story, his suit gets ruptured somehow?
I have no idea. Why is that to be? Like, is that a mandate or is that
I don't know. Because he's nuclear energy. You don't want to breach that. Why is everyone so like, let's breach that suit? What?
It feels exactly like that. Like, he's more so not even a character. He's a plot device to make destruction or something.
Exactly. So basically, Clark goes, "Hey, I'm not gonna do. There's nothing for me on in the world of man, if you will. So you might as well just go back to your island." And then like McKay inquires about the other superheroes. The Flash has run so fast that he can't like stop vibrating, so he's constantly in motion. And Hawkman is just like patrolling the like woods, and he's like taking out like people that would disturb a forest sanctuary. And then Green Lantern has made a fortress, kind of like a Fortress of Solitude, in space, where he's like waiting for any alien threats. But I think that's Alan. I don't think that's Hal Jordan. I think that's Alan Scott, right?
Yes, that's Alan Scott.
Okay, good. And then so we kind of see the like glimpses of the future. Superman's kids right here, right there in that panel. You got the two super kids. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah, again, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, by the way, for those that don't know, right here, hang on, right there. Again, another thing that I just noticed as well, and I'm like,
right.
Wait, that's a vision of the future.
Yeah, at first I did not notice that. I thought it was just heroes. I did not know that was the Legion.
Yeah, because it's showing it's the future of humanity. And then, okay, Batman has he's fixed crime in Gotham, and by what kids? We mean Superman and Wonder Woman's kids in this universe. So the way Batman has fixed crime in Gotham, he's created a fascist police state.
Yeah.
So basically, he has bat drones that like round up crime, and that's honestly pretty Batman. I kind of wish their kids had a fusion of their logos for Superman and Wonder Woman. Yeah, that's a missed opportunity, and I
Yeah.
wish they would do that. Britt and I may be doing something like that. Hint, hint. More on that at the end of the stream. And then we see again more of the battles, more of people being like needlessly like endangered. And then Norman says, "We need hope." Cue a blue and red streak. And then we get first off, we get the look up in the sky, and then our good buddy Kal-El shows up in I love the black and red Superman logo. That is just so great.
And the fact that it is inspired by the original logo, and the Fletcher logo, is it doesn't so much look like an S, but it does. And I love the futuristic look of it. And yeah, the black, for older Superman is not, the black is for mourning too, but I just like that, the black makes the red stand out. It's just so different.
It does. Black and red really complement as a color combination. That's why whenever I play games, I always have my characters have like a black and red motif because it looks cool and it pops. And by the way, how about this epic panel of Superman like screaming, which will be returned to later? The best suit with the underwear. Yeah, the underwear does not bother me in this suit for some reason. I don't know what it is.
I think because it's because he has a black belt too. So it kind of, and I think the way he is drawn like a bodybuilder a little bit. So it works out. But it's a little duller. Like the colors are not as bright.
Well, plus here's the other thing, and I've always said this about the trunks. It depends on the artist because it's not drawn like they're trunks on the outside of the suit. It's drawn like they're part of the pants. So it doesn't really look, because that's my problem, because a lot of artists, like guys like Gary Frank, kind of draw them in a way that it looks like they're just a separate piece in the pants, and that's when I have my issue.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny looking, even with the art of now, when he's in a group shot with the rest of the Justice League, it just looks so old, and like he really needs an updated suit. That's why I love the new 52 suit so much.
The armor.
It's because it's so slick, and it's not even because of like, even if it is armor, you can have like Jason Fabok, the way he drew the collar a little bit lower, he took off some of the lines or whatever, and
which that's fine. And here's the thing about that suit: it's nanotech. So the easy story explanation is it changes.
Yeah,
real quick, one more thing I want to mention. When he was turning into Doomsday and Doomed, this was the detail that I didn't notice in Doom. If you notice, none of the Doomsday spikes pierced the armor. So the armor itself was adapting to him turning into Doomsday.
Yeah, that is pretty much why I love the suit, because we're in an era where kids, they question a lot of things. And it's not as simple as he wears a suit up under his suit and tie, because you do want to know, like, where's the cape, whatever like that. The whole telephone booth thing, we haven't had that in about 30 years or
ever
whatever.
Since the cell phone was invented.
Right. So that doesn't make sense. And wearing the baggy clothes, acting like a dork or something, that whole persona is 70s. We're out of that. So with the nano suit, you can easily just, have it, come about or whatever. And and the slickness. I just loved the slickness.
It
I'm
looks
sorry.
so cool. We really have to do like an episode about like all the different costumes that Superman and Wonder Woman have worn. That would be a fantastic, I think, deep dive. So
Yes.
another one of these great gatefolds. I'm like, geez. And by the way, this is the one time I'm going to mention the Justice League cut that doesn't exist. One of the posters they did for that is like homaging this type of like Justice League poster. That's the one good poster that
If I'm
that
not
cut gave us.
mistaken, I thought that that was an idea from Snyder, and they just used his idea.
Probably, because there's a version of that with the black suit that I actually have as a wallpaper on something. Best Wonder Woman outfit is a Rebirth one. It's a pretty good suit. But best Superman suit is his recovery suit. Or you mean the black suit from the Snyder cut? Yes, I love that one. So moving on. Okay, so I'm just waiting for it to load. Sometimes DC does this. Okay, so we have more of these. Like, I love the way the figures in this like panel are all like smoky, and they're like how they interact with like the fire and everything. It really has a good. It really has a like. It really forebodes really well.
Is that like Lady Liberty?
It looks like it. I think is that. Yeah, it is. It's in her torch. Best Superman suit is the Rebirth one. Rebirth one's it was a little plain. That's why I didn't like the Rebirth suit. But anyway. But all right, so they continue on, and then we have it's kind of funny how we go from Lady Liberty to a radical, like extreme right-wing guy trying to like stop immigrants from coming into the country. And then he's called the Americommandos. And it's interesting how they, I'm just like, what the heck? Okay, G.I. Joe, nice one. But he looks like Homelander, actually, when you look at him. Look at that.
Oh, I mean, the details of these costumes, some of them are very funny.
Can I say, I want action figures. Oh, McFarlane, mine these for action figures, please. And
that would be wonderful.
Yes, exactly. New 52 is my favorite too. Yeah, exactly. And yes, and the merge one is from the poster of the Kingdom, and then that movie gives everything else the middle finger. Yes, exactly. That was the only good part. So then we get the rest of the Justice League, and again we have the gods returning. That's why I love this, because you could think of this as a tale out of Greek mythology, and the gods have returned from a period of like not watching mankind. And
right,
Barry, look at Alan Scott with his Green Lantern sword.
Yeah, I love the armor. I love that they are like you said, it's very much like Greek mythology of them coming down from the sky, you know.
And by the way, Tevia, I don't think that's what that the Flash in this is Wally West. I think it's Jay Garrick.
I think so too. Let's see.
Yeah, let me look that up real quick. But anyway, yeah, because DC to me, let me see, who is the Flash in Kingdom?
Oh, it is Wally.
Oh, it is Wally. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, then Tavia. Where is Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart in this universe? Hey, it could be that they just don't exist in this universe because we never hear about them. That's possible. No, I think it's Wally. Yeah, it's Wally. They probably went with that because, like, they already have not Jay Garrick, Alan Scott instead. So, but I love. So they're probably like just make him look like JSA. Quentin brings up a good point. Hawkman looks like an actual Hawkman.
Yeah, the way the costumes are, it's the detail. Mm-hmm. That he makes it realistic, and I love that. I also love Diana's I don't know if it's what her skirt is, but I like that. Mm-hmm. And I would like that in live action.
Yeah, exactly, particularly on Gal Gadot. So hint hint, James Gunn. I know you're not going to do that, but hint hint. Tevia says, I can also see the case, if memory serves me well, that it does it. Dick Grayson in his universe is Red Robin. Do they? Oh, okay, well, we'll see. Superman just tears the American flag off America Commando, and he's like, hey, listen, dude, you're not American. You're done. And I love this image of the Flash, like the after and before images. It's like Alex got okay. Alex Ross really knows how to do motion extremely well, because that's the tough part about drawing the Flash, is you have to show like the motion really well. He does it really well. So moving on, and then we actually have a comment. So let's see. Yay, Superman. Yeah, exactly. And then Red Robin shows up and kicks these guys' asses. I don't like the cowl on the Red Robin suit. It just doesn't really work with me.
It looks like the Batman suit missing the ears.
It's like, did you ever see, so in the Flash movie, they neglected to put the ears on Adam West's suit, so people started calling him just Man.
Oh, I saw that meme.
And it's led to like everyone taking the ears off every Batman, saying, what's your favorite man?
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
It does. It looks weird. But just the way they draw action. Just look at this. It's high energy. It's epic. It feels grand in scale. And that's what you want for even a Justice League book. Forget just a Superman book. For a Justice League book, it's very grand and very epic. Also why I like the Snyder Cut. And Superman just repairs Lady Liberty, showing he's back to restore freedom. Then we have the entire league, and then they all like hang out here. I mean, and here's the image that you were referencing earlier. So we have like, I think that's Starman, I think, Hawkman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, kind of like Heroes in Crisis, that one good moment. Red Robin, right. Power Girl, and the Flash, and just look at this. That's like, we have returned mortals.
Yeah, that is, but they wouldn't say that, you know.
I know, but it going with the whole motif I keep going on about Greek gods about it. Yes, they have Power Girl. That's interesting instead of Kara.
Karen, you know, that is the one thing that confuses me sometimes, is the whole Kara and Karen thing. I just like, if they are not the same, I know it's the whole different Earth things, but I still just don't understand the concept of having both of them.
I don't know either.
Even in the comics now, the current, they have Karen and Kara, and it's like, why both of them? I don't understand. I thought that Power Girl was only supposed to be on Earth 2, so her being in, you know, the current Prime Earth, that's just too much.
But Ian has a good point. Super Wonder stories have some of the best art. Yes, they do. Thank you.
Yes.
And that's why I'm proud of it. Because it would be one thing if we were a fan of comparing and they never got good art. We have the best artists in the world, right? We have Jim Lee, Jason Fabok, Tony Daniel, and Alex Ross. I think we have a pretty solid roster.
And Jen Bartel.
And Jen Bartel, yes. It's like somehow the top talent of the industry always ends up drawing Super Wonder. So yes. So then they're basically talking about, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. The Justice League is coming back to restore order. The heroes of old have returned, and we need so the superheroes. We're asking you to the crazy superheroes, we're asking you not to do your thing anymore and to join the Justice League, and don't be like so crazy about it. At first they start like they're asking them, and by the way, Kingdom Come was the closest to Marvel Civil War. Injustice doesn't count. Yeah, because at least Kingdom, at least the thing about Civil War, the characters more or less acted like themselves, although Iron Man kind of didn't, but that's kind of the point. Jim Lee's the best. I agree with that. And Kingdom Come is a better version of Civil War. I feel like Civil War was just Marvel trying to have their Kingdom Come. That's what I really just go with. So then we see more of like Superman. Superman flies down to Wayne Manor, goes into the Batcave, and we see Bruce, and he's like in like this harness because he's super old.
Yeah, his I think it's called an exosuit or something like that.
I think what this was, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Bane and a couple of the rogues broke into the Batcave and killed Alfred.
Really?
Is that what this is? I thought that was the story, and so someone in the comments comment on that and let me know what that was, because I'm pretty sure that was the story for this. And then we get by the way, so we have okay, here we go. Oliver Queen, Dinah Lance, and Ted Kord. So we have Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Blue Beetle, and then they show up, and they're more on Batman's side, which is kind of interesting. Where whenever there's like a DC Civil War, the people that side with Batman are like the more human characters. Isn't that interesting?
Right. That is because, in a sense, even if they are working on the same team, it's still that subtle line of, I wouldn't say xenophobic though, and that
A
they
little bit.
are
It's like don't trust the
afraid.
aliens.
Yeah, I think that even if they are on the same team, it's still a divide. It's still going to be a certain mistrust there. So yeah, they are going to, when they have their civil war or whatever, they are going to go with, I'm on my side of being a metahuman, and or and you're going to be on your side, which is just a mortal. Um that is kind of to me, that is bad, because you also have the writers with their own bias, and they go for the human side, you know, be the better side, or you know, and then
Mhm.
you turn the aliens, metahumans or whatever, into the bad, the antagonist. So yeah, it's a lot of xenophobic type narrative there, and has been for a long time.
Yeah. So then, by the way, we have this epic recreation of the first comics of like each of these characters, like Action Comics 1, Detective 27, Wonder Woman 1 with the horse. I love how they like honor each of the first appearances of these characters, or first appearances. So then we get also, it's kind of cool, this nice reunion of Donna Troy and Diana. I mean, again, speaking of emotion, it looks like such a happy moment right there.
Yeah, and again, with the because of the painting, you can see the expressions, and it seems so realistic. And Diana and especially with Diana and Donna, you can tell that they are very much sisters. And even with Diana, at first she was so seemed stern, and now she's with her sister and she's so happy.
I just love it. And then so basically it's more of the Justice League coming together, and then they start rounding up the rogue heroes. And again, I love this. I love this image of the child pointing up at the superheroes again, and as opposed to in the beginning of the story where we saw the kids cowering in fear, because now like the superheroes have returned and like they're fighting. But Clark notices that Diana's a little more brutal. More on that later, because that is actually like brought up. Then we have like the Legion of Doom, essentially. I'm going to call them. I don't know if it's exactly the Legion of Doom, but it's them. We even have Catwoman, by the way, in the green dress from like her first appearance. So I love the classic feel of all of these books, because it works for what Ross is trying to portray here.
Yeah, and
And
it feels like
yeah, go ahead.
it feels like he's trying to put everything together up until this point, like from the golden age all the way to, at that time, the modern age. So he's putting Easter eggs from the golden age, from the silver age, from the bronze age, and just putting it all together to where it makes sense, and it's also honoring these characters.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the group is called the Mankind Liberation Front, which that doesn't sound ominous at all. So that doesn't speak of xenophobic.
Yeah, that
Shows up, and oh, by the way, Tavia, you're gonna love this. This is when he was referred to as Captain Marvel. So for the purpose of the story, I will call him Captain Marvel. Then we get this superhuman like nightclub, and Superman just shows up and he goes, "Okay, guys, I'm gonna ask once. We want you to come and help us. You can be a member of the Justice League. You can help us make the world a better place. You don't take this route, and you like threaten people. We're gonna have a completely different conversation involving my wife with the sword. He doesn't do that, but that's what I'm doing."
I mean, I could take that too. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I love Green Arrow because he looks like a medieval archer. That just looks so good. A dead man's a literal skeleton. I can't marvel, pun intended, enough about the character designs in this. I bet you Alex had a really fun time with this. Then we get the iconic cover image of Superman and the Justice League in the fortress of actually the Watchtower. And
that's the Watchtower.
Yeah, it's basically the Watchtower. And then we get like more images of the battle. And I think someone said they saw Bane. I'm trying to see if I can find Bane. I think that's Solomon Grundy. That's Adam Smad. That's Wunderbar. There's Creeper, Plastic Man. There's a lot of characters in this. Jeez. So it's like they ask Alex, how many superheroes are you going to put in this? And Alex just said, yes. That's just what he said. And then so what Superman and Wonder Woman are talking about here is that they're like, okay, first off, Superman's like, it didn't have to be this way. We didn't have to have an actual war. So, but they decide there's too many guys that are choosing to fight. We have to figure out a way to put them. So they go to Atlantis and ask, by the way, I love how the Atlanteans are actual mer people now. So that's dope. They go see Arthur and Mira, and he goes, hey, can we like...
That's Dolphin.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if Mira died or... Yeah, but he remarries to Dolphin.
Okay. So anyway... Arthur goes, and Superman basically asks Arthur, hey man, can we, I know we're best buds, so can you let us keep our prisoners in your country? And Arthur goes, hell no. I get we have some history, but no. I'm not allowing your surface world conflict to infiltrate us, no matter how friendly we are. And then he's interesting. He goes to Diana and he goes, I know Diana knows like the how heavy the crown is. And she goes, I'm not a princess anymore, Arthur. My sisters deemed that I had failed in my mission, so they stripped me of my royal heritage and banned me from Themyscira, so I have no home. And when I read that for the first time, that hit like a sack of hammers. That's why she took. That's at least the way I interpret it. Like, and actually, here's a good indicator of SuperWonder in this book because they both have lost everything, and that's what led them to like withdraw from humanity and become a little more like pugnacious, if you will.
Right, and even if they are withdrawing themselves from humanity, it's not that they turn evil and become dictators. It's that they are just isolating themselves and trying to find themselves again. Or with Diana, because she's tried so hard to be the champion of her people and change the world, again, when she was younger, because Kingdom Come does go with the post-crisis reboot. So the beginning, she was, sunshine. She was ready to take on the world. Her mission was to bring peace. But with Kingdom Come, it shows that it's easier said than done. So she has this pent up anger and frustration that her mission, failed. She didn't fail it. It's just the fact that the world is pretty awful.
Yeah, and in a way, you could say she failed her mission because she gave up on the world.
Yeah, it's like she had no choice though.
True.
Diana, and even with that, she didn't really give up because she still feels that there is some way to fix it. And that's why she, tries so hard to get Clark to become, Superman again and be the leader that she know he is to be.
And then they go back to the fortress and they have this conversation. He goes, "Why
The
didn't you tell?"
Watchtower.
Yeah, the watch. I keep calling it the fortress. They go to the watchtower, and he goes, Diana, why didn't you tell me that you were that you lost all of this? And he says, I've noticed that you have changed. You are like more brutal and stuff, and you're talking about throwing people in prison. That's a very thin line. And then Diana goes, well, be prepared to cross it because this is war, Cal, and yeah, you have to be willing to fight it. And I love where she goes, is this you talking, Diana? I sense so much anger in you. And she goes, not anger, Cal. And then she stares at him very intimately and goes, passion. And I'm like, okay, there you go. And I love how Donna interrupts. They're about to kiss. If this were a movie, it would be Henry and Gal because, yes, thank you. They're moving to closer. And then all of a sudden, Donna interrupts. And then everyone in the theater is like, oh, come on.
Right. You have and the thing is with I guess it's between this chapter, but there is the novelization of Kingdom Come and the unpublished, of course, because I guess it was too explicit at the time. It really wasn't, but you can read it online. And chapter 14 is within this um I guess it's between here, but Clark and Diana are talking again, and there's another scene too with them. So I don't know if it's between here or there, but Diana is talking about getting pinned to a wall, and they make it into double meanings or whatever. And again, Donna interrupts, or well, no, she walks in on something that goes a little bit further. So yeah, with this scene, I'm guessing that is the same scene. And if it was adapted, I would rather adapt the unpublished chapter 14 scene because that is
That
is
just
so
seems
much funnier.
funnier. That just seems
Yeah.
funnier, exactly. And so they go, we found Magog, the one that kind of started all this and like nuked Smallville, because that's what happened in the beginning. They were fighting Smallville, and then the Captain Adam's suit was breached, and they nuked Smallville. So Superman shows up and he basically Magog goes, Superman, this is all your fault because because there were all these articles about must we have a Superman, and then and again, by the way, you see like all the old comic books up there. But then we find out what happened to Lois. Joker went into the Daily Planet and and set off his Joker guest. By the way, I love how Joker looks like Jack Nicholson,
Nicholson.
clearly inspired by '89, and he kills everyone. He kills Lois. He kills Jimmy. He kills everyone. Then he was brought to trial, and then I killed him. And then you testified against me that I killed someone, but I got acquitted because it's the Joker, and you just left. So really, is Magog wrong about this? That Superman is partially responsible because when the going got tough, you just effed off pretty much.
Well, yeah, because he well, that is the thing that is the flaw of Kingdom Come, and that's where it kind of comes into where Clark's old guard mentality of you can never kill.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's a
Just
very thin
stupid.
line because Clark has killed before. So it's like when you have no other option, that's what you have to do. And that's the thing that this book is sort of, this story is sort of exploring, but it's still kind of setting that notion that you can't discipline, what's actually wrong.
And by Ian says, and plus, in a way, Clark was like damaged emotionally, so like maybe he couldn't trust himself. That is true. Maybe it was
Yeah.
like all of this, and then the Lois thing, and he was like, he probably wanted to go away because he was afraid he was going to do something that he would regret. And by Graviton says it's off topic, but I think the story of Injustice could work. Just scrap the whole dictator stuff and have the story focus on the aftermath. That would work. That's how you make Injustice work. Makes even Clark turn himself in or try to turn himself in. And that worked right there. You just Graviton. And Britt, I'll ask you what you think about this, but I think he fixed Injustice.
Yes, he did. Even if Clark kills the Joker, yeah, let him turn himself in, and whatever is going on, whatever, he works it out and all of that. But even with the Injustice tie-ins, how Tom Taylor, he had where Bruce, I think he kills Joker and he goes to prison, while Clark is basically, his fantasy is Lois becomes president and they have a daughter, and he still has that dictator mind, like they are in control of the world or whatever. So honestly, you can fix Injustice, but the character himself is very much, walking a tightrope of Homelander type. Like he inherit. It's kind of like deep down, he is still a villain.
In other words, they kind of made Superman. It sort of replaced Superman with Ultraman in that story. But what you could do, he kills the Joker and he goes on trial and he says, "I will abide by the decision of this trial. If you want to strip me of Superman, because of this, it's fine." And this could also be why Bruce, like, maybe takes, because Bruce believes in the justice system. So this could be like where Bruce, like, decides, okay, it's Clark. He even turned himself in and went through this process. He's fine. In other words, he's not going to turn evil or anything like that. So you could have done a lot to make this work. And by the way, Britt and I may or may not be working on a project where we fix Injustice. More on that at the end of this episode. Why even have Injustice Superman show up in the main universe? Clickbait. That's why. It's clickbait, right, Britt? That's the same reason why they had him on the copy of the John Kent book. In clickbait.
Well, that, and because Tom Taylor, he wrote the tie-in, so he really didn't have a story for John, so he had to clickbait and to use it as he was trying to gouge that fandom, those readers. But of course that didn't work because how Injustice has basically spoiled, or aged poorly like milk. So no one, really cares for Injustice like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So back to this story. So we find out that Magog feels so bad about what happened to Smallville that he's trying to rebuild it, and that's like one of the. That's interesting right here, and he even says, "Okay, I'm going to turn myself in. You can take me away." And then also they're at war. So Superman goes to Apocalypse and meets with the king, Orion. So apparently there was a revolt and they overthrew Darkseid, which I'm like, can you really overthrow Darkseid? But I'm willing to suspend my disbelief here. And he goes, can you help me build a prison? So they do. And what's kind of funny about it, and Barry, we have the cameo of Big Barda, so I like that. What's interesting about it, Barry, he calls it the Stronghold of Justice, kind of like the Hall of Justice. So that's really, I like how they bring that in. And then we have Batman meeting with Lex Luthor, because of course Batman would meet with Lex Luthor at this time, and then we get the next gatefold, which is all of Batman's superheroes. By the way, this is I love how each cover is all of their individual sides. And again, just that bat suit, that's like one of the most intimidating bat suits I think I've ever seen in a comic.
Yeah, it does look a little scary.
I hope that in a future Batman movie they give him the glowing white eyes, because they had that in BVS in the anti-Superman suit, but I think it would work really well with that.
Blue Beetle actually has the beetle like.
Oh, I like that too, because this is before Jaime as well.
Yeah,
I like that. So then we get another vision of the future. So all these visions of the future are like clouded. Then we see like Captain Marvel bringing down the lightning. And then he goes, okay, we're rapidly approaching the end of the world. And isn't it kind of funny how the Stronghold of Justice, aka the Super Prison, looks like the Legion of Doom from Super Friends?
it does.
That
Wow, see,
yeah,
so many Easter eggs here.
I know. It's like again, this is how you know, and this is how I always gauge if someone's like a super fan and really loves the source material, or in this case, just the material, because it's not adapting anything. When you put so many Easter eggs in here that is even obscure ones that there's no way. It's like Zack Snyder gets accused all the time of not reading the comics, and I'm like, the minute he put KG Beast in the movie as like a main villain, that's a character that you don't like use in a Batman villain unless you read the Batman comics pretty extensively. And it's like, even with this, when you have like really obscure stuff in these books and movies and TV shows or whatever, that's how I know you really know your stuff. And by where is Mary Marvel? I don't know. Maybe there is no Shazam family in this universe, or maybe they all died.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's a Captain Marvel family.
Oh yeah,
here.
Captain Marvel family. Yeah, and then we get some more images of inside the prison. So the prison's actually not really an actual prison per se. It's actually, you know, it's kind of like the Matrix in a way, in that it's kind of like, just live your lives, and when you're ready to rejoin the world and be a peaceful person, we'll let you outside, and you can even join the Justice League. And then everyone calls them like super fascist. It starts, then they start a fight in the prison that they're in, because they're in there for fighting. And that's really funny. And I love how there's this big hologram of Superman going, everything's all good. Once you've lived out your punishment, you can come out, and you can even join the Justice League if you want. And then it starts another fight. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Honestly, it's basically like the anti-heroes are the students, and you know, the older heroes are the teachers, and you know, the anti-heroes are in detention, or they're like kids, and as I said previously, Clark and Diana represent the mother and father, so they basically put the bad kids in timeout, and yet they are still fighting. When people, you know, want to criticize Kingdom Come and say how the whole fascist thing, it's not that. It was basically them just trying to get control of these anti-heroes that are pretty much teetering on the villain side.
Yeah, they're a danger to humanity. And when someone's a danger to humanity, like in the regular justice system, when it's working properly, I want to be clear on that. When it's working properly, and someone's a danger to society, you isolate them from society. He's not killing them. That's what he's very clear. He's like, let me put them somewhere else where they can't hurt anyone until they're ready to come out. He tells them, you could definitely come out.
Yeah.
And that's go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, well, first of all, we already know Twitter X, they don't read in depth. So the first thing that they will do, they will just oversimplify things. But now that we're analyzing this, that was not bad at all. To me, I would agree that if you're acting like this, yeah, I'm gonna lock you up for a minute until you calm down.
It's like when you're a kid and you misbehave and your parents say, go to your room.
Exactly.
That's what that
that is
is.
exactly what this is.
And it's kind of funny coming from the father of superheroes. So that's even funnier
Right.
there. The father and mother of superheroes. So then we get like the battle inside, and we also have like a lot of the again a lot of the like gods of DC like deciding not to get involved. So they're basically like, okay, you're done. But what's kind of cool about this, so this whole story, Norman Mackay and the Spectre are invisible to the superheroes in the same vein of like Scrooge, but Deadman can see them. And by the way, again, I love how Deadman is
Love
an actual skeleton.
skeleton.
That is frightening, but it works so well for the character.
Yeah.
And then we get another moment of Superman and Wonder Woman, and they're talking again about like secret identities and this whole war thing. And I like how they're sitting up there in space. They're like lassoing asteroids.
Asteroids. I love the detail that Clark, he makes a W with the rock. And then when
Oh yeah, I see. I just noticed that. See, we're all noticing new things in this book. I mean, look right there, guys. It's a Wonder Woman W.
it's kind of like he's flirting in a subtle way. He's gonna make a W.
That is so the way Clark flirts. That is so Clark.
And so Diana, of course, she's just going to, you know, blast an atom. She's or an asteroid. She just, knocks it apart. But the poetic part is that Clark takes the lasso and he puts it back together, and it basically creates a heart.
Mm-hmm.
That
It
is
does.
so.
And makes it seem like he's trying to subtly say, I love you.
Yeah, that you really couldn't notice that. I think it was pointed out on another fan pointed this out years ago. But yeah, it is so sweet to have, the asteroid um putting the pieces back together. And yeah, that is basically saying about their relationship is that now that they've um done all of this together, basically going through hell and back together. And, you know, yes, they are in sort of a disagreement too, but there's still love there.
Exactly. And then we get, I think what we're seeing here is the idea of what happened to the Marvel family, to answer your question, Tevia. I think they were all like destroyed. Because that's kind of what I'm seeing here on his art. And then we're learning that Lex Luthor is mind controlling Billy Batson. And I think it's with like that Caterpillar villain that Captain
Mr.
Marvel
Mime.
has. Yeah, Mr. Mime. I think that's what this is. And Batman's obviously spying on him because he's Batman. And I love how his spies thing is an actual bat. Of course, Bruce. Never changed. Instead of like a batarang or like a drone, it's just a bat. And
Yeah.
and Batman's like mass producing his bat drones, and he's talking to Oliver about everything. And then he comes in and meets with Lex Luthor's crew. And again, you think that he's gonna like actually side with Lex Luthor. He thinks, but Batman's always one step ahead, even in his old age. Yeah, there are some writers that take that to the extreme, like Grant Morrison and Bat God. But when it's done well, which I think in this book is done well, it works. And we even have Martian Manhunter here, by the way. But then we get again. So Superman is like is meeting with his Justice League, and then what's kind of cool is that McKay's dragged out of like the spirit realm by Flash. And he's basically supposed to say, hey, you guys got to cool off because this is going toward catastrophe. And Superman goes, wait, you want to warn me about this? And then he's trying to say, tell me the truth. I mean, he's basically saying, you can see I'm telling the truth. I'll do anything. But you got to stop because otherwise everyone's going to die. And then we find out there's a prison break and everyone's gone berserk. And then we get like a Wonder Woman going, I told you the prison wasn't going to work. And then they even go to the UN's, and because the UN is like, okay, are we gonna have to get involved because nukes are gonna happen if we have to get involved? And Superman's like, we'll handle it. Do not get involved because that will make this way worse. And then we see more of like Captain Marvel, and he's being under control. And then Batman reveals, "Oh yeah, I had everyone like on my side, like infiltrating your like facility. So in a way, I was one step ahead of you, Luthor, all the time," which is kind of funny. Even in a world where Superman is distracted, Lex Luthor can't win. That's the best part here. And then we get like Shazam, and then he flies off. And then we get the debut of the golden armor for Wonder Woman. And this was the one good part of 1984 when we saw the golden armor.
But even that, it was still kind of whack because it was used not in the way that it's supposed to be used. It didn't even fit the actual the point of the story. Like Diana doesn't really need it not to fight Cheetah. I understand that the whole the scratches or whatever, but no, she didn't need the armor. I feel like, well, Patty Jenkins, she did say that she was a fan of Kingdom Come, and that if she was able to, she would actually adapt it. She wanted to. So I guess that was her way of putting something in the movie from the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I also like how like that they have the same conversation about like taking a life. And Superman's like, "Okay, so wait a second. I'm not sure how you feel about you having a sword." And then Wonder Woman goes, "Not everyone has as a heat vision." That's such a great retort. And then so they're having again this meeting, and they're like, "Okay, so they're like wrecking shop outside the prison." And then okay, so this is the interesting thing where like this is a part where when I was going through this book before we went live, it kind of dawned on me a little bit where so they're having the conversation about taking a life, and then Superman goes, he basically says we have to do this without taking a life, and then Wonder Woman just kisses him, which kind of is like I kind of took that as her saying that's the old Clark, kind of in a way.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, he's trying. She's basically they are in their marital spat as parents or whatever, and yeah, they're having the conversation about taking a life. And as we said, it's not, if there's no other option, you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Diana, she knows Clark, she knows his heart, and he wouldn't want to do it. At the same time, yeah, she respects his opinion, but then she also has her um feeling towards it, and it's like I'll do what I have to do. So in a way it is, and to basically shut him up too. It's kind of like
Yeah,
we're
kind
going
of.
to war, I'm gonna do this.
And it's like a final farewell, so it's kind of like I don't know if I'm coming back. That's the other thing too. And then Superman just flies out and goes, "Hey, listen, Bruce, you got to stop this because this isn't gonna work out this well. We received a warning that this could lead to like Armageddon." And then Superman goes, and then Batman goes, "Didn't wait a second? You started this because you created a super prison. So don't talk to me about like starting a war." And then I love what Wonder Woman's outside and goes, "Okay, so stop." Like she's outside the prison, and she goes, "Okay, everyone, stop rioting, or there will be consequences." As she holds aloft a spear, and I love the more warrior Diana. I think.
Yeah, now this is Diana basically in mother mode. She's basically like, stop before you get punishment or something like that. She's at this point, she's really frustrated because it's like we're trying to, you know, change everything. We're trying to put you in a restriction of if you you know, act right here, then you can be free. But it seemed like they are getting even worse, being locked up. So now it's like you have to be um strong-handed. And that's what she's trying to uh show Clark, is that this isn't easy.
Hmm. It's not as black and white as you make it out, which is kind of Dark Knight Returnsy of Wonder Woman, and that's kind of the problem a lot of people have with Superman, is that in his stories everything seems like black and white.
Black
No,
and
no,
white.
everyone's good or bad. And I'm like, no, and that's partly why I think Batman's more popular, because he lives in that gray area that most people find compelling. By the way, Ian says Superman and Wonder Woman are the yin and yang of each other in ways. Yes, they are. Thank you. I love this
Yes,
interaction because, all right. So, first off, Bruce tells Clark that Lex Luthor has control of Captain Marvel, and he's sending Captain Marvel there to break the prison open and like have all of the crazy metahumans attack the Justice League. Then he turns, he goes, "What do you expect me to do, Clark?" Oh, so that's how that feels. I love when Batman is like, when people vanish on Batman without him knowing.
Yeah, I like you know, these moments, even within the conflict, they are moments where you can have a little laugh, you know.
I know it shows that these are still the versions of the characters you all like. And then I love this image of Superman flying at super speed. It's like even with like the speed lines and all that. And then he arrives. No, actually, Captain Marvel arrives. The thing opens with a cracker kaboom, and then it's Superman face to face with Captain Marvel, but Captain Marvel is having the Superman pose with the cape flying in the background, the arms on his side. And then we get the final battle, the never-ending battle, if you will, to channel my inner Nick from the Phoenix Press and make a pun. Then then we get, I love the way they do this. You have this image of like the counterparts of like the metahumans fighting, and it's like all silhouetted. And then we get this kick-ass image, which seems like it would be like a great wallpaper. And by the way, when we first covered this in the early days of Comics League, this was the thumbnail I used, because just look at how epic this battle is.
Yes. I mean, everything you can, even with them, even the background characters, they still have such detail. With modern art, it's kind of like, it's so rare that you can see the details of the background. And even some people sometimes look like stick figures, you know. But here, you get so much detail.
And again, this is why Alex Ross is paid as much as he is. But there you go. And then it's just like the battle. And then McKay is like, "Oh my gosh, no. How much time has to pass before I can stop this?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then they're in this epic battle. And then the government, being what it is, decides, okay, we're going to launch a nuke at the metahumans. Like, that's going to work, but okay. And then Batman shows up, and I love how the cape is, instead of a cape, it's like wings. And but I love how also Black Canary has like a cyborg eye. That is just so cool. Again, Green Arrow was like a medieval archer. Wildcat is an actual cat. All of the character designs in this, I can't overstate that enough. Just looks so cool and badass.
Honestly, this is why they cannot adapt this. Like I said, you have to have a high scale animation team, because all the details of these character designs, to translate that, it has to be high scale. And even with the Crisis animated movie,
Nope, they cannot do it in that animated style.
yeah, that animated style, no, is very, very average. But also just adapting that big of a story in such a short time without the buildup. With Kingdom Come, it is a miniseries, and you don't really have to have too much background with DC characters, and that is the great thing about the story, is that you can pick up this book, and because it's such an interesting story, and just the character designs, whether they're recognizable or not, you are invested in the characters, and so you want to know more about them. Um, Many stories now, it's kind of like you have to have that background knowledge to even care for them.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is that if they were to do this animated, they would have to devote more money to it because, according to Sam Liu, they don't give a lot of money from a budgetary perspective to these animated projects. So they would have to give like Spider Verse money for this to be done right. And even then, I'm
And at,
like, yeah,
and at that point, honestly, it would have to be like a theatrical release, or a, well, the thing with Zaslav and HBO Max is it's kind of like he is severing anything with that, um with the network. So it can't be a an HBO Max mini series or anything, it seems like. Um but yeah, it will have to be something on a grander scale than just a straight to DVD film.
well, yeah, and at that point, you might as well just do it live action if you're going to put that much effort into it. Just put the whole,
Exactly.
just call back the Snyder Cast and do it live action. Hell, they're old enough to do this. You can
Right, they
make them look.
are.
You could put like the white temples on Cavill and be fine with it.
Honestly, I think Cavill, he does have the kind of starting to have the white temples anyway.
He has the
So yeah,
bearing.
they are of the age.
Yeah, and then we have like Wonder Woman saves Batman because she stabs someone through the chest. So yeah, she kills, and then everyone's like, "Get Wonder Woman!" And then they're fighting back to back. And then out that a nuke is coming. Actually, first Wonder Woman and Batman fight, which again, fight kind of. So then they fly up into the sky, and then they see the drones with the nuke, and they have to get there and say, "Okay, guys, stop! There's a nuke coming." And then Shazam is fighting Superman, and he just keeps Shazamming Superman because, again, Superman is vulnerable to magic. And then so Batman and Wonder Woman are like trying to counter the nuke. They get they manage to like get most of the drones, but it drops. And then Superman sees the nuke and is like, "Hey, Batson, you got to stop this because here's the thing: I'm gonna go stop that nuke, and it could kill me. They're gonna need a leader. You be that person now." And which is kind of funny because when Shazam was first created, he was like outselling Superman. Everyone thought he was going to replace Superman. So it was like, it's kind of a nice little reference to it. And then he goes, he tells Batson, "Look at this. All of this can stop that nuke." And then what's kind of cool is that Billy Shazams, he goes and catches up to Superman, but he basically flings him down to the earth and then makes the sacrifice play himself. Kind of like, and this is the one time I'm going to mention the crappy Superman Reborn story, where actually, no, it was the final days of Superman when New 52 Clark is fighting the sun guy that thinks he's Superman. Then he tosses a post-crisis Clark and going, "They're gonna need you." And then Britt and I are like, "No, they're not. They're not gonna need you."
Yeah, I mean, for anyone to, while you're bringing that up, for anyone to say that New 52 Superman was not a hero, I mean, his he was dying of kryptonite poisoning, and he still, you know, saved the world. And
And
yeah, post
even when
crisis,
he lost his powers, he was still trying to be a hero.
yeah, while post crisis, he wants to just go play house, and even during a storm, he wants to stay in a basement.
even when the Anti-Monitor kills Darkseid. What?
Yes.
You don't do anything? But anyway, then the nuke goes off, and then everyone thinks, oh my gosh, everyone's dead. Because you see, like, and again, detail in the skeletons, you got like Blue Beetle skeleton. You have, I'm trying to see who else we could see here. I think I see Green Arrow somewhere here. But the point is, a lot of people die. Superman thinks everyone is dead. So he flies up and he goes to the UN, and it looks like he's gonna kill everyone, Superman. But then Norman said, "Hey, listen, Spectre, send me in and let me talk to Superman." And he actually calls him Clark. That's the key thing. He calls him Clark to like reconnect him to humanity. He goes, "Hey, listen, dude, they just did this because you were scared, and I get that you're angry about all this, but you really have to forgive yourself." And that's kind of what's interesting about Superman. This whole time he has blamed himself that the world got this bad because he like stepped away, but McKay is like, no, you have to forgive yourself. And then he learns his lady love and his best friend survived the nuke because like Green Lantern's like a combination of well, first off, Shazam detonated the bomb in high orbit, so it wouldn't necessarily hit everyone. And then like Green Lantern and a few of the other survivors like were managed to put up shields, so everyone's fine. And then Superman goes, "Okay, we have to. We're not going to be able to solve the world's problems. We're just not, and we have to accept that. But that doesn't mean we can abandon the world." And then I love he ties Captain Marvel's flag to like cape to where all the countries that are a member of the UN's flags like fly, so it's like a final tribute to a fallen hero.
Also on the previous page,
yeah,
you have in the background with the civilians,
oh yeah,
you have Marston, Seagull, and I think that's Billfinger.
yeah. They drew Alex drew like a bunch of the like classic DC creators.
Yes, that is the best homage possible.
Yeah, it is. It's so good. And then we cut, and I love how Batman is like making Luthor work for him in the hospital. That's the rebuilt Wayne Manor. Superman, Batman being Batman, he just walks up to the Lex Luthor and goes, "Shazam!" That is so bad. I love Batman messing with people, and then because by the way, here's Dick Grayson, and like he has a reunion with Batman. Wonder Woman is re-crowned the Queen of Themyscira because everyone's like, okay, she did help us, so you know what, she did succeed. And then like Alan Scott is inducted into the UN Security Council as with New Oa. I guess that's what they're calling the Watchtower. And then we get this great moment. So Superman is building like graves to like all the fallen heroes, and Wonder Woman shows up and she's basically saying, hey, we came so close to losing everything. I brought you this. And he goes, clearly. And it's the Clark Kent glasses. Like, how can you say that like Diana separates him from his humanity? That
Right. She is the one that wanted him to be. She never separates him from humanity, which I really don't understand where that comes from. And the only thing is that it's because he acknowledges his Kryptonian heritage. That's the only thing. But nowhere in the comics have she ever pushed him away or whatever, or pulled him away from humanity. It's
no,
always
it's like I always say, what Diana does is she encourages everyone, not just Clark, to embrace all that they are, their true
exactly.
selves. Emphasis on true, because she acknowledges that Clark is part air quote human because of like he grew up on Earth, and you can't exclude that. You can't exclude that from Superman. And I love when Charles Soule in the Superman and Wonder Woman book actually had Batman saying, "Hey, listen, dude, you're for all intents and purposes, you're a human that happens to have these powers, because you're always going to fight for us. And that's the page that I always use when I refute the whole, well, Lois separate. Lois is his tether to humanity. I go, according to Batman, first off, saying that if he uses Lois, he loses his tether to humanity is an insult to Jonathan and Martha Kent. Let's be clear on that. And
Exactly.
the other thing is, like, he goes, you were raised human before he met Lois, up until when that happened to have powers, and he was fine with that. And he went to Metropolis pre-meeting Lois to be a hero. So even he wanted to be a superhero before he met Lois.
And from New 52 Justice League, issue 14, he says the reason why he's Superman is because of the Smallvilles all over the world, and it's the people who he is fighting for. And New 52 brought back the Golden Age champion of the people, man of the people, champion of oppressed.
They made that run. They actually updated it for the modern audience, and I know that that's like a bad phrase in like today's lexicon, but they actually did it well here because they managed to make those parts work. Because when you read like Golden Age Superman, it's very dated. The new 52 Superman, and I'm talking about both Superman and Action Comics, they managed to make that like less dated.
Exactly. And now we have very dated, run-of-the-mill type status quo. You know, when they say that post-crisis is the real Superman, first of all, there's no real. The only real was the Golden Age, the first creation.
Yeah, all of the copies of him.
Yeah, everything else afterwards is, like you said, a copy. Post-crisis turns the character on his head. It's a total 180 to his true purpose. He was created by immigrants, so to bash or make it seem like being an immigrant is something bad, it's a total disrespect to Superman's creation in the first place. Yeah, that's pretty much why I don't like post-crisis. It's just something that really needs to be let go of. Because DC is now right back in the state it was before 2010. They aren't so far deep that bad, but yeah, they are close to it.
Yeah, I always say there are cool parts of post-crisis. Like, I will never badmouth the Jeff Johns Green Lantern run because that is immaculate. The problem with it is that in their other characters like Superman, less so Batman, majorly Wonder Woman, they like let them stagnate. And that's really the main problem with post-crisis. And we should really also do an episode just on post-crisis because I think we can go really in depth on that. But anyway, by Randy says Superman can be an interesting character if you play to the strengths of the character. Yeah, and the problem is that a lot of modern writers and a lot of modern fans on Twitter take that as only staying with the way Superman has been in the past and not taking those things that have made Superman the character he is and applying them to the world we live in now. That's why I love the Snyderverse so much, because what Zach did is he took, and this is the way Zach works, he goes, I'm going to break these characters down to their fundamentals. And so anyone can understand this is who Superman is, this is who Wonder Woman is, this is who Batman is. Then I'm going to build them back up. So now that you understand the characters, you now appreciate them more. And as someone that was more of a movie fan before a comic fan previously, I can tell you that worked, because as soon as I saw Zach's takes on Superman, I was like, I get why people love this guy so much.
Yeah, and it's not just destruction just for the sake of it. It is for you to invest in these characters. when you have high stakes, you are tuned in. You are really invested in the story. How does it end, if it ever ends? Um, and you root for the character. When, but it seems that Superman post crisis, or he is given everything on a platter, spoon fed everything. He has the job, even though you really don't see him doing the whole reporter thing that much. I know the current Superman run is trying to put that in because, of course, trying to have Lois as the
She's
editor in
Perry
chief.
White. She's Perry White.
Yeah, Perry White. But that is very, you can have mundane, but at the same time, it becomes too much when to the
Exactly.
point of it's boring. So you have that. And then he's supposed to have like this perfect family where you have like 6 Kryptonians in one city, which is basically overkill.
Yeah, I'm like,
Because,
why does anyone commit crimes in there or Central City? I don't understand. That's the problem with the family concept when you apply it to metahumans.
and that's the
Is
thing.
is that you have 5 gods on each family, and someone still commits crimes in those cities?
Yeah, that's the thing is everything that DC is doing now is based off of something of Batman.
That's so
Batman
true. They,
has,
I mean, DC does mean Detective Comics, and Tevia. I said Flash family, didn't I? Everything applies to that because they're all like speed gods. Superman's family is all like gods. And it's like, why does anyone try and commit crimes in that city at all if you know that you're going to face gods?
right. Um, the Batman family, because the Batman family is so massive. But the thing is, the Robins are still unique characters.
Mhm.
They still have distinctive personalities, distinctive costumes, they distinctive stories. So you can invest in them individually.
Well, not only
And
that, with the Batman family, the reason why that works and why I would believe someone still commits crimes, because you could shoot Nightwing, you could shoot any of the Robins and kill them. You can't shoot Superman.
right, and then Gotham, honestly, Gotham is its own character.
Mhm.
Like in that city can have, well, they have had its own book of, even the civilians, the random civilians are so much more entertaining or interesting than Lois, honestly.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so, and that is what DC is trying to incorporate with all the other families. But the thing is, Metropolis it doesn't have that type of mystery or character. And that is what the current run is trying to do, is give some type of mystery background for Metropolis, but it's not kicking like Gotham
It's not
is.
like the Court of Owls or anything. The reason why that worked is because Gotham always has secrets, and then when you find out there was a secret society that keyword Batman didn't know about, it's like, okay, that's believable. But anyway, back to Kingdom Come. So McKay is back at his congregation. He has a much more hopeful sermon because, like, you know what? Everything's gonna be good. Grace be with you. And then we return to 1 year later. We return to the diner. Wait, hang on. And I love this scene because of course the person that shows up is a Superman cosplayer. And I love Diana's like, be nice, Clark.
Because he has the mullet too.
Yeah, I love that. And by there's Supergirl and Martian Manhunter is the cook. And by he goes, greetings, citizen. And someone is dressed as by the 1966 Batgirl. And you can even see the old DC logo and Diamond Distribution logo is up there. I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did not. Wow. Yeah, that is the Diamond logo. Wow, that's kind of aged poorly, but
For
they
DC, definitely.
for DC definitely. So they sit down. Batman shows up. He's in the trench coat and everything, and they get him. They all order drinks, and what's kind of funny is I love how someone turns around and then he goes, "Wait a second, you?" And then he goes, "Yes." And he goes, using the ketchup, like Bruce is gonna go, "Are you Batman?" Like I love those scenes where like, "Are you who I think it is?" But I love how the drink, how the mug is a Green Lantern. I want that. I definitely want my room. I need. And of course, their waiter is a Robin, which even more irony there. And then they all order food, and then this scene was butchered in Injustice because they the reason why the Trinity are eating because they Clark and Diana wanted to have an announcement, and then Bruce is like, "You're pregnant," and I'm like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, so that's where Tom Taylor stole that from.
Well, yeah, the whole Injustice is basically anti-Bizarro, um, Kingdom Come.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, even trying to have Godfather Bruce, yeah, that is Kingdom Come.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I also love how like Clark didn't know she was gonna ask Bruce to be the Godfather. He's like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, go ahead.
Even Bruce's surprise is kind of like me, like you're entrusting me to, even be a father or whatever, an uncle to this kid. Do you know me as? And again, even though, like I said, Batman is a man child, he is still very self-aware.
Yeah, he goes, my record as a parent isn't exactly spotless, but I also love this line where like Bruce goes to Clark, he goes, "News to you, I take," and he goes, "With her, what isn't news to me?" And it's just that because they already have that like relationship dynamic where they're like, of course, just go with it, dude. It'll make sense later. That's like when the indications that they already have that really firm relationship, and I'm like, I love that. That's awesome.
And
And then
then,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, well, you're going to the hug is just so brotherly. It's
Hmm.
like that they are a family, and also this is the establishment which we talked about of what the Trinity is. It's not so much as um a deep thing, as how DC is trying to put the Trinity in everything. You have Tom King trying to have the mini Trinity of the blood. Well, Lizzie isn't
Hmm.
blood, Diana's daughter, but trying to have the kids. You have just trying to make it seem like the Trinity is such a friendship when it's not. It's basically Clark and Bruce are very close as brothers, as they're supposed to be. They are going to argue, they are going to, fight or whatever. Diana and Bruce do not have that closeness at all. They pretty much never see eye to eye.
So in other
Um,
words, Wonder Bat won't work.
exactly. And then you have Clark and Diana who have their very complicated relationship. Again, the reason why they are together in this story is because Alex was inspired to have them because of Action Comics 600, which showed that their relationship needed to progress over time
Hmm.
and they needed to understand each other. They are going to have disagreements, but they still love each other and fell in love with each other. Um, and yeah, they are representatives within the story as mother and father. So for the ending of Diana to end up pregnant and they end up as parents is very poetic and ties in everything.
And I love where they explain why Bruce, and he says, but because there's stuff that Clark and I that our child needs to know that Clark and I just can't teach him. They need to have like the influence of a mortal man, and then Bruce goes, "Are you sure you want me? Because I rule by fear, you rule by trust." And then Clark goes, "Look, yeah, you're right about that. trust is my thing, and I trust you despite everything that's gone on between us. I have always trusted you and always will. And then they have that hug. And I just love that. It's like, yeah, like you said, no matter what, Clark and Bruce are like close friends.
And it is the fact that Bruce is, he's not that bad of a father because he has adopted, I mean, it was like 5 Robins. Yeah, they went through their own, Jason died, they do want to kill off the Robins and everything. But he was in a twisted way an inspirational figure for them. And
Well,
him
not,
and
but well, not only that, because remember, Dick Grayson is always seen as Batman's greatest success because he took this kid who could have ended up like Jason Todd and he turned him into someone who's like the most upbeat, positive, relatively, he's the most normal Bat family member.
exactly. And even with Bruce's, his mental issues and yeah, with the fear, if Clark and Diana are going to have kids, their kids don't need to be isolated. They do need to see certain things, and I'm thinking that that is what, you know, they're trying to convey with that, is that Batman shows the difficulties as being, yeah, immortal. And even if they did change the world, it's not going to be a utopia. So they have to see that, and they can learn it from Uncle Bruce.
And boy, I love as they're walking out, the Spectre is ordering a Spectre platter, and then Norman's like, "Look at it this way. It's nice to be remembered somehow." And then we get like this recreation of the cover from the first appearance of Shazam of Wiz. I love reading this because you can see like the original like covers on the wall. It's like even Fun Comics, the very first DC comic. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I was gonna say, at that time, I don't think that you were able to really, you know how you can Photoshop certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
He
very
basically drew
interesting
that.
that, yes, that Alex drew and painted that.
What? Wow. You can make and plus here's the thing, that's not easy to do because those are really smalls. And again, I love those detail-oriented artists because it's really easy to it's really cool to see like what to like go on Easter egg hunts. So anyway, and then we have the Apocrypha, which is basically like the like a background information on the book. You have like all the heroes that died, and then you also have like I'm trying to. There's a specific thing I wanted to go to. Well, first off, we have like all the character designs and like the ideas they went through with like each of the different Justice Leaguers, but they actually have a family tree that we can check out, and I'm trying to find that area. And but the neat thing about Alex Ross is that when he draws something, he actually has like a real model come in and like model for like him. So he can like, he takes like actual photos of people and then recreates them. And that's why like Superman's face looks so real.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to just scroll all the way down to the bottom here because there should be a family tree somewhere. They even have like a behind the scenes commentary on like all of the Easter eggs. Okay, so here's the family tree. So we have is I'm trying to it's a little hard to interpret. So here's Superman and Wonder Woman, and yeah, they never give you the names of Superman's kids, Superman and Wonder Woman's kids. Do they? Except for
No,
John, obviously.
except for John. But in JSA 22, you can only see that they have, with the 1,000 year timeline, you can see that they have 5 kids, but yeah, they're never named.
And by
Which,
the way, interesting you say that, Atchison, that they, all right, they were gonna have Kingdom Come action figures, but I think they canceled those because they were gonna actually give us like figures and statues, I believe. Actually, you know what? Here, it's in the back of my book. But while I look this up, Britt, continue.
Oh, so yeah, that is the one thing. If they are going to have, well, Wade already said that he doesn't want to do a sequel, which he did with The Kingdom, and it was with another artist, and it wasn't as good, of course, and I think that is what's intimidating. And yeah, it is intimidating because you're trying to basically ride the coattail of a story that, I mean, it is Alex Ross. It's his story.
And by
First
the
and
way,
foremost.
here are the Kingdom Come action figures.
Yeah, I've seen those, but they definitely need to do a newer edition.
McFarlane, we're waiting.
I would definitely would like to have John in his Hyperman suit, but I think that Alex would probably update it to be more distinctive, like how he, redesigned some of the characters. He gave them more character. With the design of Hyperman in the Kingdom, it was kind of basic, and I think he was disguised as the Question, or
Originally, yeah. Oh, and by the way, Britt also shared this interesting thing with me on Twitter when we were getting everything together for this episode, where apparently there was a story where they wanted to have. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So, when Wonder Woman first shows up to Superman, they wanted to be like she shows up with a kid.
okay, so actually, the idea was at the end,
Okay.
Alex, it was that she announces her pregnancy. But when he told John, Byrne, he basically had a fit over it. And because he was thinking that Clark and Diana would have a kid out of wedlock. First of all, I mean, modern day, people have kids out of wedlock all day long. Also, within tradition, Diana doesn't care traditionally for a marriage. She would
Mhm.
she would like marriage, but I mean, again, she's not the traditional person. Yeah, so having a kid out of wedlock is not a problem.
Yeah.
But so Alex drew this just as a gag to show, them having the kid, and Byrne, he actually thought that this was going to be within the story. So yeah, it's a very fun little thing because you do have the little baby, and Diana is like holding the baby. He has the little S curl, and Clark is like, "This is my kid." So it's a really cute thing. But there's also a commission that was uh years ago too, that Alex drew of Diana and John on a serious note, and it's such a beautiful thing to see Diana um as a mother. And also, I believe that is where it comes from, that when she marries and have a kid or something like that, her hair starts to turn gray.
Mhm.
Is that I guess she's still immortal, or now she's to the point of like Kryptonian and ages slower.
I thought it
Um,
was because this was around the time, because I remember in Post Crisis there was the idea where if she marries someone, then she gives up her immortality.
I think so. Which honestly, even if she isn't immortal, she still lived, I
She
think,
still
from the
lives
thousand.
ridiculously long.
Yeah, I think it seems like, well, actually, they don't really give a specific uh like year or whatever century that she dies. She does die before the 1,000 year, before the 1,000th year. And Clark is wearing her cloak and
Mm-hmm.
has her pendant on. Um, but yeah, even still, with them having a long life together, and again, that is far more beautiful and more natural. I can't stand when people say that Clark and Diana's relationship is like
Easy.
easy, or like I was having this, and this back and forth thing on
Oh boy.
Instagram, and he was like that they are just like these gods and they are beautiful, pretty, and things come as a fantasy. And it's like, well, first of all, with this, Clark and Diana's relationship is much more natural, and they actually go through a lot of quote unquote human things. It's just on a grander scale. So when Diana passes within Kingdom Come, Clark doesn't put her mind, soul, or whatever in a robot or whatever, like how he did in DC 1 million when he is gold and he put Lois's mind, soul, or whatever in a robot,
Mm-hmm.
recreates her to come back to life, or giving immortal juice or something like that. If one of them dies, they die. If they come back, they come back. But they make it a point that I'm not going to, you know, mess up if that's the fate that we have, that um of us. Just like with Immortal Wonder Woman, Clark, he sacrificed himself, whatever. He fought Darkseid, which was really cool in the sun.
Which, by the
And
way, I picked up that trade.
oh wow. And when he told Diana that dying here is not your fate. And even Diana said she wanted him to think of her, but he inspired her to continue on, and that she needed to do something more. And that's what they do. They inspire each other. With Lois, he stops when, if she is dead, he wants to either become a dictator or give up with everything. Um, Even in the animated Death of Superman movie, how Lois was saying, can't you call everyone else, call the cavalry or whatever, and you need to leave with me, not to fight Doomsday. And it's like, how selfish can you be? Like,
That's his job.
he has to fight. And with contrast, it was Diana that told him when she was lying there after she fought Doomsday, she told him, Clark, to stop him, that he has to do it.
Don't
So
hold back, Clark.
yeah, it's like, as much as they want to show that the Lois and Clark relationship is just this all great love story, whatever, you can dissect it and poke holes in it, and it's a lot of questionable things going on.
Yeah, when you really examine it, it's not all puppies and rainbows, according to people. But okay, so now that we're done with Kingdom Come, there's a little thing I wanted to do since we're live. I want to actually open it up to questions. You guys can send us whatever questions you want to have. But there's one other thing I want to do. So this is episode 20 of Legacy, and I really want to emphasize this point. I kind of brought it up at the beginning of this week's episode, but yeah, when I started this show with Brit, by the way, this show is basically a year in the making, if I remember correctly. Like a year ago, I said, hey, we should do a podcast together on the channel. And she was like, yeah, okay. It's just we had to figure out a time that worked.
Right. Exactly.
But the thing about it is, I didn't expect like as many people to show up for the show as they did. And here's the thing. With YouTube, it's very like sporadic when things do really well consistently. I didn't expect, honestly, like people to keep showing numbers they did, but you kept showing up. And if anything, more people showed up. And that's the thing about Super Wonder and Snyder fans. When the chips are down, you show up. And this has shown me that, because really, first off, there is no Super Wonder podcast, specific podcast, I think, on the internet. So I'm glad I can fill that in. But it's also the idea that this show lasts because you guys just keep watching it and keep watching, keep sharing it. And it's incredible. And Brit, this is one of my most popular. This is actually the most consistently popular show on the channel. And I just want to also thank you for being an awesome co-host with me.
Well, thank you. I mean, I never thought of, I guess, speaking, out. I just had to writing the fan fictions, and that was it. And also having the Instagram of posting pictures, But to actually speak on everything that has, been, I guess I've thought about, but didn't have a way to really put it out there. And for you to build this platform and so welcoming to, whether disagree with anything, agreeing or something like that, you're so welcoming. And yeah, we've been trying to get this for a year or two before then, and it was always about the timing. And for it to come about and to have so much fun, I want to thank you.
And that's very, very sweet. And the reason why I picked you for my co-host, because so even like the other Comics League guys were like, she knows so much. It's like, whoa. And by the way, Randy says, are you guys going to review the Ruby series Superman and Wonder Woman versus Sources of Time? Yes, we will do that.
We definitely can.
That is 100% going to happen, because I've always wanted to review that. But again, thank you to everyone that makes this show possible and makes Comics League what it is, because we're at 840 subscribers. Likely in January, I think Lad said like mid 2024, we're going to reach 1,000 subscribers. And that is
wonderful.
And the thing is, what's interesting about it is that we also just celebrated 200 episodes of my main podcast, Under Two Capes. And the thing about that, when I reach 100, so I'm at like 840 or so now. The channel is at 32 when I reach 100. So in just 100 episodes, it got to where it is. And it's really incredible when I look at all the old like photos I took of like the channel, of like progress. 846. Thank you, Tavia. It's extremely humbling.
Yeah, and especially with the support, because there isn't a Super Wonder, individual podcast. As we see that even speaking positively on it, a lot of people want to come and attack anyone who, who has a positive thing to say about the pairing, and to speak and have facts about the pairing, to debunk all the negative talk and lies or whatever that a lot of Twitter X fans, spew.
Yeah.
That is something so telling, that you continue on regardless of anyone trying to put you down. It's just having a conversation about fictional characters.
In fact, I'm gonna play that clip right now, because if ever there was a time for it to be appropriate, let me find it. It is okay, here it is.
Okay, they're talking about fictional characters.
There you go. I love that.
Right. And like with the Instagram, it, it was two admins, me and another SuperWonder fan, I think in 2015. And this is when Instagram was kind of starting to become more popular, um, as uh, just more people gravitating from different social sites. Twitter was the thing, but it really just wasn't going on, and especially at the height of New 52 and the movie verse, right after Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so we began just posting fan arts, and some comic panels here and there. Did not expect to get the the response
Mm-hmm.
that we got. And also, and when I think it was 2016, and it was another fan, and we were, before collaboration was what it is on Instagram, we would repost each other. And it was one time where I posted, no, it was 2017, I believe, when the Wonder Woman movie was coming out, and Gal, she would repost fan art. And I really, like I said, it was just posting without thought. And within a short time, we did gain over 10,000 fans, and a lot of people came out. Yes, we did have a lot of detractors. I mean, a lot. You know, wanting us to delete the page, trying to tell us that we're not real fans, trying to really discourage us from having a page, and seeing the amount of followers we had. And when Gal reposted the image that I posted, that is when the page really, I think, gained a lot of following and gained a lot of attention.
Yeah, because that's a big like legitimizing factor if like the actress playing Wonder Woman is like reposting your stuff.
Yeah, so you see that, and then it became a big thing that antis, they was like, well, they don't, this is not a fan of Wonder Woman, that
Oh wow.
uh, lying about not being a fan of Lois, which, well, it's not really a lie, but disrespecting Lois and not being a fan, um, talking about like the page was anti-Amy and stuff like that. So it was a lot of discouraging things. You had people even sending death threats,
Oh wow.
um,
Over
private
fictional
message.
characters.
Yes, I have received of death threats. I mean, like, yeah, it was a lot. Um, but I kept going. When my friend left, she left about a year, I'll say right before BVS came out, because of her own, personal dealings. So I was basically left alone with this account. And it was like, what do I do? At one point, when it got really bad of the trolling and the death threats and everything, I wanted to give it up. I really did. But then something pretty much told me, no, you know, keep going. Because I also started getting a lot of positive comments, and people are saying that, the posts that I post are positive for them, and it makes their day. And now we are 57 thousand followers, about to hit, I would say probably in April, the same as how earlier this year we hit 50. We're gonna hit 60,000. And I have a woman who writes for Forbes, and she personally messaged me, and she said every post makes her day. And she, she is a fan of Wonder Woman, and she loves the positiveness of the relationship. And for a person of that caliber and being a woman, you know, that Lois fans, they always want to say that there's no female fans that like the relationship of Superman and Wonder Woman. And I'm like, okay, so who am I?
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm like, I've hosted 20 episodes with one. I think there's more than I think there are people.
Yeah. So it's like for her to personally message me, it it really gave me another perspective is, you know, and even what I dealt with the knucklehead, earlier today, it was like, and the fact that they admit that they wish that the images that I post or the following that I have, that it was from a Lois account. It shows the impact that
It
Superman
shows
and Wonder
that
Woman.
it shows that the relationship is so great that even they admit it's better than Chloe's. But real quick, we
Right.
also have some. Actually, you know what? Go ahead while I put all the questions together. And by the way, keep sending your questions, guys. These are great ones. But go on.
Oh, so yeah, and even with the fan fictions, I really I love to write. That is my occupation, along with digital art. And at first, it was just a thing, you know, ideas or whatever. But then some of the stories really took off, like the Tonight one shots, um, Awakened Desires, uh, and The Blessing. The Blessing with Austria was just a prompt. It was like a challenge or whatever, just within the Facebook group, the Superman and Wonder Woman Facebook group. And I just took it on, because I thought it was interesting to, make up my own little OC daughter or son for them. And that became a thing now, to where people know her as a character, of my creation.
And by the
Um,
way, Graviton asked a good question on that note. When reading a Super Wonder fanfic, what are some things that can put you off the story? I know for me, it's if the characters act wildly out of character, and when the fan fiction turns too much into I'm gonna say adult story, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm done.
yeah, well, I haven't read any more of others fics, I guess because I feel like I don't, yeah, I have a certain idea of the characters because I want to stay in line with the comic book version.
Mhm.
Um, and basically blending in the all iterations together in a sense if I can. Um, but yeah, the wildly out of character that I know that in my mind, even when you're reading the story, and that's what I like to do is have detail. You have to picture the character, because um, you don't have that visual like you have in comics. So sometimes before I really started writing and I was reading, it was like I can't see the characters say this or I can't see the characters do this. Um, yeah, so that is something that I stopped doing a long time ago. Um, but yeah, when writing a fanfic, you can have your head canons, um, but if it's not what you can see the character doing, I, you know, kind of don't write it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. By the way, Tavia, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to tell you this right now. No, they're never going to de-age John Kent because John Kent himself, as a 12-year-old kid, as an adult, has his own fan base now. And since they had him come out as bi, they basically solidified him as that version of the character because then you take away a bi icon if you de-age him. They can't do that now.
Not
And
only that,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
not only that, but again, he has been more of an adult than a kid. So that is one thing. And he is now, from the implications of uh, the last Action Comics issue when he and Jay had that sort of date,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it kind of implied that he you know, has a more active relationship with Jay. So it'll be awkward to turn him back to 10 and he's already having a very adult relationship now.
Yeah, you can't do that. And Tevia, New 52 didn't fail badly, so I don't know where you're getting that in there. If anything, Rebirth actually failed because numbers wise it didn't add up, but that's just the thing. But yes, I do think that both things could have existed. You can give both fans what they wanted. And Super Wonder didn't die. Steve Trevor sucks as a character. Thank you for the success. Why do you think Super Wonder got destroyed in the Superman Truth arc? Because Tomasi didn't like it, was threatened by it, and wanted to sabotage it. And because according to the creatives, and Britt, you can back me up on this, you can go into more detail on this. According to the creatives, it wasn't the sales. The sales were not the reason why they canceled the book. And by the way, Tevia, that's fine, but he's not really he's not an imposter because that's the DC version of the character, unless they somehow have, because here's the thing, they can't make him the imposter because guess what? Because then that implies that the bisexual version of John is not a real character. They can I have to link it to that because that's the reason why that's what this character is going. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Britt.
Well, what again with John's whole thing is, yeah, he was supposed to be the new Superman of modern day, and again, he's already having a active adult relationship, so they can't turn him back into a 10-year-old. With the Truth arc, it was more so, yeah, to tear down New 52 Superman to like his core and make it seem like he is a bad version of the character. Because as they were, well, with Charles, he stated that it wasn't anything to do with sales. It was just the fact that they wanted to change directions. And with the change of direction, it was to force in John for the deals, his idea of the Super Sons. It had nothing to do with actually, even with having the marriage back. It was really, honestly, that is really just in the background, and it was what Germans wanted, but that was not the main goal. The deal's main goal was actually not to have the marriage in the first place. And also with the Truth arc, again, they wanted to show post crisis as this real, true version of the character that has everything on a platter, that has this happy life and spoon fed. But again, he hid for 10 years. He didn't help with the anti-monitor. And and
He became coward Superman, in other words.
And he basically took over a life that was not his. His world, to try to transform New 52 Earth into post crisis, it just does not work because John does not, even John, if you want to try to put him in post crisis timeline, he doesn't fit anywhere because first they erased Connor for John. so that John can be like held as the first ever Superboy.
And I'm like, well, no. By the way, Tevia, no one would be upset. Okay, so Tevia, I think you're approaching this more like what you like and not what would actually happen. Because, yeah, you would be happy, but a lot of people, particularly the people that DC likes to pander to, would be very pissed off. So, Graviton, I got another one. If you could create your own personal Elseworlds where Superman lands in a different location, where would it be and why? How cool would it be if Superman lands in Themyscira, like a certain story you were
Honestly,
you
that
were
was the right. That was honestly the first idea that popped up was the mascara. And honestly, because it, he Clark is the antithesis of what the Amazons perceive men to be, and also men of and with power. So having this, well, he would be probably 2 years old. So having this powerful little 2 year old, you know, um, land on their island and to see how they interact with this baby boy. And of course, he would maybe grow up there or be hidden or something like that. But to have to deal with a superpowered baby, and he's a boy, will be interesting for the Amazons.
Yeah. And by the way, Tevia, I don't know where you're getting the information that they're getting rid of Yara Floor because she's literally in the next issue of Tom King's Wonder Woman. So I think they're trying to salvage that character. So I don't know where the idea of she's like going away is coming from. But
Yeah, no,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Yara, she doesn't have a story.
Mm-hmm.
She was basically dropped, but
Mm-hmm.
she is now part of the Wonder Girls. I mean, the Wonder Girls, they they don't have much of a family,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially with the fact of what Diana is going through. Like, even her character has gone through so many rewrites and destructions and stuff like that, that the Wonder Girls don't really have a place. But what Tom King is trying to do is he's trying to basically put everything together. And well, DC in general now, they are trying to force back like the post-crisis era of everyone is family, these and yeah, grow the families in a very artificial, um, inorganic, type of way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, she's just there. Even if the thing is, Yara doesn't even like being called Wonder Girl, but she
Mm-hmm.
is labeled as a Wonder Girl.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And by the way, how would you salvage? I wouldn't even touch. See, how would you salvage both new 52 Wonder Girl, Cassie Stansmark, and new 52 Superboy? I mean, that's one of the parts of the new 52 I hated was that. So I wouldn't even touch that. So that's what I can say. By the way, I want to say, by the way, we finally cracked 3 hours.
Wonderful. Yay.
So. And that is live footage of the Lois fandom falling apart.
Honestly, well, we did just cover a whole like 4 issues of wonderful art, but
Yes.
that is a huge story. So
You can't
3 hours,
take an hour to go through that, but
right?
it's all in all a great episode. So so I think it's a good place to wrap this up. So in terms of Comics League stuff, I just want to make this announcement. There'll be no Comics League stuff next week because of the holidays. I may repost. I probably will repost this link. In other words, repost the stream as a replay, so anyone that like missed it can like go see it. But besides that, there will be no Comics League stuff. So our next episode will be in 2024. So this is our last episode of 2023, Britt. How about that?
Yeah, and we made it to 20.
And I can't wait to see where this channel is at when we're at 40. So thank you so much for watching. And by the way, so Britt, do you have any stories you want to tease us with?
Okay, so you already know about the Twister story. And I have and I also have where Hippolyta is playing matchmaker as Diana is ill, and Hippolyta and Cal has to take care of her. Then I have Austria's adventures, but the most important story is our grand
Our
what
grand epic tale. Yes, that is
I mean
shaping up
that's
to be
it's not
massive.
even a it's not even a trilogy anymore.
We've basically made our entire DC universe, and we'll do a whole an episode on that later. But by the way, last question. Randy says, isn't part of the reasons why they rebooted in the first place was because post-crisis became convoluted and confusing and added new characters, making it even worse? Yeah. Yes.
And ironically, this is what they're doing now.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, that was also the issue a lot of people had with the DC AMU. They were like, why are you putting new 52 characters in pre-new 52 stories? That makes no sense.
Right.
But
Yeah,
by the way, actually, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, they are doing the same thing, same cycle. Again, very self-aware, and what was said in a DC documentary, it's just they can't help themselves for self-sabotage.
Oh, yeah. DC's self-sabotages? No. Say it ain't so, Britt. But and then Rebirth brought back that convolution. Thank you very much. And we also did an episode on Rebirth a while back, so you can check that on this playlist. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everyone. It's a pleasure to do this show, particularly with Britt. And I can't wait to see what happens in 2024. So stay heroic, everyone. We will see you later. Bye-bye.